What's up, movie world, and welcome to Movie Night for Superman Part 2. I know it's not a Superman shirt, but it's still part of the DC universe, right? I review movie previews. We're continuing our feature-length analysis journey through the Superman franchise. We should basically consider this and the first film one huge story. Here we get the conclusion and the resolution of everything that's been set up in the first film. While it's not flawless, it is considered by many the best of the Superman movies from the 80s. One that set the standard when it came to a superhero discovering his humanity and wanting to give up his powers. Will Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan, and David S. Goyer take away anything from these first two films when considering the reboot of Man of Steel? That's what I, and longtime TMPC friend and Superman fan Chris, will be discussing in this movie night. If you've never listened to a movie night before, it's basically a feature-length critic's commentary, or a movie review of the entire film as we're watching it together. And that's where you come in. You have a copy of the film somewhere, whether it's on Netflix or DVD or Blu-ray, and we sync the audio up with your visual and watch the film together, and hopefully discover some movie truth along the way. I'll be mentioning the time code every now and then so we stay in sync. After the review, stick around for some closing thoughts. Alright, the adventure continues. This is the movie preview critic with the man who was anonymous last time. Just known as Superman fan, but Chris. So we have a lot to talk about with this one because it is part 2 and a lot of backstory Hollywood drama.
Yeah, which we'll get into, but one of the first blockbuster sequels, at least, I would think.
That's a great point.
Came before Empire.
Came before Empire.
I mean, you know, you had The Godfather too, but that's not
the
same type of movie.
Right. And this is even before any kind of horror movie sequels are kind of blowing up.
Right.
And that might be part of the reason that things got so ego-driven on the set and all that.
And this is before anybody would have said, I mean, you know, you can go back to old franchises. I mean, of course, Bond has a bunch of sequels. You know, you can even go back to like The Thin Man or something when they did a bunch of movies, but typically it wasn't done a lot. And I don't think, and sequels I don't think had the same immediate negative preconceptions that they do now, where it's just like, oh, another one.
That's a great point. I mean, at this point, we're just like, oh, we're so inundated, and of course there's going to be another sequel. Of course they're going to try to make more cash.
You expect the second won't be as good, but I think actually that's kind of, I would say that's changed recently. It almost seems like you expect the second one to be the best one, to peak with the second and then fall apart. And I think it works here. I mean, the Superman 2 has its flaws, but it's definitely the most fun it's more fun than the original, I think, because especially in the superhero genre, because you have to have all that setup in the first one. It can be necessary, but to get through that, it's kind of like you just want to get to, you know, put on the stupid costume, do the thing.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. So you get to that, and then you can have a whole second movie about, you know, some new conflict, and everything's already been established and you can just get right to it. That's, I don't know, I mean, you think about any of the, except for, Iron Man, where the sequel was not nearly as good. I mean,
basically, yeah. Nothing that new happened in that one.
No, well, that was screwed up, I guess, by the writer's strike, I think, or something at the time. And
they just kind of had to pound it.
It was a mess, but, you know, Spider-Man 2 was, you know, lauded everywhere. You got Dark Knight.
Right.
I know I'm forgetting some other.
Fantastic Four, Part 2. Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer, yeah, you know.
Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Ghost Rider 2.
Decline of the movie quality. Ghost Rider 2, which you were just saying.
Yes, Armand White declared was better than Zero Dark 30s.
Do a search on that. I'm still laughing about that. So, all right, well, we're going to press play now and get things rolling on as the famous kind of intro for, this is Warner Brothers, right? Yeah. That Batman is kind of made famous. DC and Warner Brothers seem to go together. Well, this is just the big credit sequence with last time you were saying
immediately into the credits.
Yeah, the Donner version. I guess we're going to be talking about the Donner version because it is such an integral part of the history of this. So we are watching the theatrical Richard Lester cut.
Right. The half Donner, half cut Lester cut.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. And I guess it's technically a little more Lester because the way that the credits work for the Directors Guild.
Right.
If you're going to say you're the director, a lot of scenes were refilmed because they wanted to give him the credit since he's doing it, so he had to just do it just to do it, not because Donner's scenes were bad in any way. So we are opening here with
the recap, the previously on Superman.
Previously on Superman. They were going to break the red crystal. You don't explain. But this is just a setup, right?
This is one of the things in all these movies where there's just unexplained crystals and, you know, oh, well, there you go.
What do they do?
Look,
he's like, it's New Year's.
I mean, he's not even stealing it. He's just, I don't.
And this is almost like Star Trek holodeck. We set this up. It was all fake. And now we have the
hula hoop of death.
The hula hoop craziness going on. Now, in the Donner cut, this is totally different because they just retell the images that we had from the first one.
Right.
And we get like a little intro of like this, Shazad, you are this, and Nan, you are this.
That's because they couldn't use Brando, right?
Right.
So they had to redo this whole.
So the big thing with Brando was that he was going to take 10% of the box office receipts. That was his deal.
For just like 5 minutes.
5 minutes of work. And I mean, this is going to make over $200 million, which in 1980 is like $800 million now. So he's going to make some cash, and the producer are like, you know what? We didn't really care too much about the story and what the theme and the arc of this character is. Let's just get rid of him and replace him with the mom.
And he's not really necessary to the Superman 2, really. And
well,
actually, I kind of like using the mother a bit because you never really heard.
You don't really get a lot of her. But I was listening to the Donner Cut commentary, and they had Tom Mankiewicz, who was a screenwriter who last time on the first Superman commentary we were doing, we were kind of saying this had like the James Bond kind of feel to it.
Right.
And he actually wrote 3 of the Bond movies in the 70s, starting with Live and Let Die. So he kind of had that whole... Here's the opponent, the villain, the layer, and all that kind of attitude with the set pieces.
Lex Luthor's type thing, yeah.
And he was saying that he and Donner kind of envisioned it as both movies are the arcing story of the son and the father.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it was important that Superman has to have the moment with his father, that he's defying the father to choose the woman instead. And then later, when he realized he made a mistake, it's the father who has to kind of forgive him and give him the power up again. So there's like the two sides of it. Because I like what you're saying too, in terms of we don't really get too much with the mom.
Yeah, and I don't know, I prefer because we already saw him defy the father at the end of the original.
Right.
And I don't know if that was that specific ending was still the end of Superman 1 or no.
Superman 1 was
really not going to end with him turning back time and everything.
The original ending was the missile goes off and it frees the 3 super villains. And they're heading towards Earth, and it just ends in kind of a old serial kind of style. Like,
so I guess
the next week kind of thing.
The father conflict would have happened at the end of 2 originally, because he would have had you're forbidden to interfere.
Right. So it's just constantly, and then the image in the clouds or whatever, like you can't make the world turn around, and he decides to do it, kind of thing. Right. So that father conflict was kind of central to their vision for the story.
Yeah. And Jor-El's always been kind of not consistently characterized. I mean, I've seen him as, a good father. I've seen him as kind of a
right.
There's a lot of
I think that was
interpretations.
Yeah. Jor-El acts like a
well, I know, like in Smallville, like if anybody's watched that, which I did until I couldn't take it anymore, but Jor-El was not. He had his own motivation.
He was like a schemer.
It seemed like that sometimes, and he would just like punish, wildly over punish or something.
There wasn't like a big rhyme or reason to his thing.
Yeah, there's been, it seems like they just kind of use them however they want to use them. So
yeah, and the footage that was used in the Donner cut, they said was filmed early on.
Right.
So they were saying that even Christopher Reeve kind of didn't have a feel for the character yet, and if you watch the Lester version of when he refilmed it, he kind of has more depth to him because he's gotten a feel for what the character's about.
Right. Here we have another crystal that just does whatever it needs to do.
You just throw the crystal. Hey, it works. It's like the glow stick, right?
The crystals are just are basically the Deus Machina of the story. The plot device. Like, how do we write our way out of this? He's got a crystal.
He's got a crystal. There's a purple one. There's a blue one.
When we're drunk and doing part 4, we can talk about that, where it's just literally like they just have no way to solve a problem. They're just like, he's got a crystal. Okay, done.
It's like the bad belt, like from the 60s show. Just there's bat spray for the shark, everything.
And it happens in here too, where they'll just, we'll talk about it later, but there's just the point where they said, like, there's no return from this, and, well, crystal. Yeah. We're okay now.
And now, you were mentioning earlier that you like the recap credit sequence here.
I do. It's the score, you get the full score, the full recap of the movie. It's kind of
that's that feeling away.
Yeah, it's very...
And it's 1980 again, so we're probably not going to be watching it on video or getting a chance to see it.
Video market is not quite there yet, so we're...
Unless they do a re-release, maybe they were savvy enough to say, hey, Superman 2's coming out, let's do a little part 1 re-release to get you in the mood for it. But this is a nice way to, like you're saying, kind of just the music's there. Even though it isn't John Williams officially scoring this one, he stayed off of this.
Yeah, it's still 90% his music. I think
based on his music,
somebody else just added a few. I mean,
Right.
the villain theme was there from his music early on, and obviously the main theme never goes away.
So it's just Lester bringing his people in. I think the guy who scored this had done some kind of award-winning score for something else. So
I think what that guy adds is mostly just like the goofy music for the desert town or whatever.
The little comedy sequences. I always call them the Cannonball Run sequences because Cannonball Run, Google it, the Burt Reynolds, Sally Field kind of series. I don't think they were the ones later on, but
man,
there's always like that cop, like that kind of overweight cop with like a little bit of the attitude. That's like an 80s staple in all movies.
Have we really reached the point where people have to Google Cannonball Run? We don't all know it. I mean,
I don't know. I feel like that's a very 80s thing, you know?
Yeah,
like,
probably. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it
unless
was
Family
always on TV. But...
Has Family Guy spoofed it? If Family Guy spoofed it, we all know about it. I feel like anyone who's under 25 will know about it if Family Guy's done something with any kind of reference pop culture wise. So this is a really long recap here.
Well, they hit everything.
The movie is listed as 2 hours and 7 minutes, and we're 8 minutes into it, and the credit sequence is still recapping everything.
Well, we had long credits in the first one, so I guess it is a way of breaking it up a little, so we're not seeing the same credit sequence as the first one.
And it's kind of a nice way to pad it out, I guess, if you're taking the movie over from Don and you're like, I want to make this my own, we'll just kind of throw this in. So the original opening was just the credit sequence, and then it cuts to Superman at the end of the first one with the missiles.
Right,
and we get him shooting a missile out into space, and it frees the super prisoners.
So we get this whole extra sequence here. And here's where you see some, I mean, the Lester influence, kind of the more slapsticky moments.
I don't mind them, but again, I feel like with Lester, it's a little more over the top, right?
Yeah, it can overwhelm sometimes. I mean, still, Christopher Reeve just sells it as well as he can.
Yeah, he really...
There are moments when it works. It's fine in the beginning here, but there are moments when they shouldn't be using it. It kind of gets a little too goofy.
To compare it with the Donner version, I like the Donner version because it opens up where Lois Lane, they kind of jump ahead in terms of why she would start thinking this way, but he comes in just like this, and she's looking at the newspaper with Superman, the image of Superman, and Clark is in the corner kind of doing the same pose with the arms folded. Mm-hmm. And then she kind of puts a hat and glasses on Superman in the newspaper with the marker. And she basically is like, oh, I think you're Superman. And then she goes to the window and she says, I believe that you'll save my life. And she jumps out. So now, instead of doing that, Lester just films that scene later with the Niagara Falls thing.
Right.
Where she jumps into the river. So the one that Donner did stronger, it's a little bit... And it's right off the bat because Tom Mankiewicz was saying that they wanted to start the movie off with kind of a little more drama and impact. So within the first couple of minutes, she's jumping off the window here. And then Superman does this thing and he keeps her, he super blows the wind and...
Right.
Is that Bill Cosby in the background? Why is
That
there a
is,
picture
actually.
of Bill Cosby? Why is there a photo of Bill Cosby at 10 minutes and 27 seconds?
I never noticed that. I didn't know.
And it's the worst frame shot. It's like super close up.
Apparently Perry White is a big Bill Cosby fan. I don't know what. Doesn't seem like the type, but...
We need Richard Lester commentary just to explain that. And then there's the chalice right below it, so I don't know.
This was a Lester film scene, so maybe it was a Lester...
inside joke of some kind?
I don't know.
Now, Lester is best known for doing the Beatles movies of the 60s, so...
Hard Day's Night. Yeah.
Hard Day's Night and Help. This is a great image right here.
And Three Musketeers, right?
Three Musketeers movies. Now, there's another power, he just kind of makes the suit disappear a little bit.
Yeah, he did that in, it was just kind of I think that happened in the first one, too.
When he was falling out the window, you were saying. Yeah. This is the part where they kind of just start making up his powers as they go along, right? The whole
Some of it, it's just whatever he needs. And they do that with the villains, too.
So this is all Richard Lester just filming this whole sequence with justification for how the criminals get out of the Phantom Zone.
Right, they need a new way. And, instead of, you open with the personal drama, and now you open with kind of the action set piece that would typically open a movie like this.
So this is much more kind of the James Bond style, have the sequence, and now the more typical action movie style,
Right.
the assembly line.
Even though most of the action here actually involves Lois.
And that's interesting that they give her kind of her own sequence, essentially, right? And Superman just kind of shows up at the end. And it's more comedy here, where she kind of does the trickery, how to get past the guard and get up there. And it is that silly kind of tone, like the music of her sneaking up and kind of the nincompoop
But at least
criminals up on the top.
There's terrorists and
with the hydrogen bomb. Yeah, so that Donner cut, I mean, imagine this isn't even in there, so they're already free,
right.
and she already thinks he's Superman, like within the first 10 minutes. So it's just like, it's just moving way quicker. And I think it's about 15 minutes shorter on the runtime.
There's a lot more dealing with the with Zod and them in this version.
And it's pretty ambitious. Again, we talked about how they concurrently film these. So they were able to kind of have this unified idea for a story, a bigger sort of plan for a 4.5 hour mega story.
Mm-hmm.
So this is important for Superman. I'm a big fan of this sequel because it's Superman choosing to give up his powers.
Yeah, which is kind of a trope in the superhero genre, but it's done effectively, I think. They give it enough weight.
And it's kind of, you can ask the question, I guess, what is Superman's biggest weakness? Is it really kryptonite or is it Lois Lane? And they, in that Donner cut, they really ask this question of what's more important, you having your mission to help people or being kind of selfish and having the love.
With great power
comes great responsibility. And there's this nice kind of, these moments in that Donner cut where he's really struggling and he's fighting against the dad and kind of, let me just have my way. And you could see the father has the wisdom and he knows what he wants to do kind of thing, but he's got to let his son make the mistakes. Now this is done really well. I mean, it's all, again, pre-CGI, so I don't know. It looks pretty real in terms of her
this
getting...
whole sequence. I mean, it wasn't the original, but I think it all works pretty well.
It's done really well, yeah. And I've always liked the moment, just Superman kind of going on the bottom and busting through the Eiffel Tower and going into space with it. So it's an equally effective way. This is cool motivation for her that she's just like focused on the Nobel Prize. She is who she is, and so it's comedic at the same time, and it works tonally.
Actually filmed at the Eiffel Tower. I mean, I don't know if all of this is, but definitely you can see some shots. So
there's some definite authenticity there, right? So they're not. There's something to be said for...
Now this would just be done in green screen,
Right. And we get the point. Is it asking too much nowadays to have that sense of realism to where things are filmed at the locations? Are we fine with just being a simulation?
Again, it's just how it's used. It's a nice little thing, but it's not. I guess it's not that important.
So essentially, it sounds like this new movie's gonna basically remake 1 and 2.
I don't even know if it's a remake. I mean, it's just a complete retelling. It's more, I mean, Batman Begins wasn't a remake or anything.
Right.
It was we're just doing something completely new with the same character, and I think that's the goal.
But it'll take some ideas from here, and it's probably going to draw from both movies since this was kind of the big overarching. Zod was always going to be the main opponent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need somebody who can present a threat.
As we learned from the first film, that was kind of threat-free, most of it. Minus Lex Luthor for a little bit.
But he just had to save the world instead of defeating anyone.
Yeah, so now it's much more personal. And it's always good to have the personal reasons. I think Zod he kind of gets to be a little one note towards the one. It could be a fun drinking game when, drink every time he says kneel, or...
That's all he wants. He just wants one. He's got a very simple motivation. For people to kneel before him.
There's a great line later where Hackman kind of makes fun of him. Yield, kneel. That stuff plays out of town or something like that, he says. That's a great effect right there. The elevator's falling. Lois is pushed back against it. Great wide shot there. You believe in the G-force right there, right? That looks good. Give him credit. here comes the setup. Freedom for the criminals.
Hmm.
That's a good shot there. That looks good, man. It's got to really commend all the effects work here.
Yeah, that right there. I mean, that
is that like a
looks really
stuntman just kind of hanging on to an elevator? Like, hey, we're just gonna jack this elevator as fast as it can go. Hang on. That's the fun shot.
just making absolutely sure that this isn't going to affect anything.
Like going past the moon. And
he's thorough, you know?
Like, interesting. It took him about, let's say, 10 minutes to get to Paris. But it took him like 20 seconds to go past the moon. Once he gets into space, he just starts flying.
Yeah, super dramatic timing.
That's right. And here we have the cool Phantom Zone effects and
the
shockwave. Now in the Donner cut, when they break free, the effects, I guess they've kind of been redone a little bit so they look more believable. But that looks cool right there. I like that, the breaking of the glass there, and they all fly out. But they kind of separate into their own panels, and then they break free. Superman flies back, thinks everything is cool. Now the dialogue here, I think, is kind of cheesy. Aren't they saying, like, we're free, we're free?
And they decide to investigate that mysterious planet.
Yeah, like, let's go find out what this is.
And they're totally just completely comfortable flying and being alive in space. Like, there's no moment of like, wait, what's going on here? It's just, yeah, all right, this makes sense.
Because, you know, they never explain Krypton in terms of, like, what's the atmosphere.
Or how Superman gets his powers or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they expect, but nobody flew on Krypton.
That's just a little bit too silly.
Yeah.
And now there's the big dent in it.
The reveal.
"20 minutes, 12 seconds, there it is. The taxi's damaged." And, like, he doesn't stop him at all. So it's... I guess in the 80s, we kind of weren't so nitpicky, right? We just weren't...
We just rolled with it, you know?
Just like, hey, this is cool. It's fun. We could take it.
Moments of levity are always good.
Now, this is where we get the jokes with her doing the orange juice.
Yeah, the orange juice runner, which I don't know.
I kind of like that they make her just this super blue-collar kind of gross, like, I want a burger for breakfast. And
yeah, smoking with the cigarette hanging out of her.
And at the same time, trying to squeeze oranges to stay healthy.
Mm.
So this is nice contradictions going on. So we're really devoting a lot of time, 21 minutes into the movie, and we're devoting time to their relationship. And this is just more development for her.
It's pretty much just a hangout scene. There's no plot development here.
So in terms of in Act 1, we want to establish the main character, what their objective is, who their opponent is, and if there's a call it like a window character, someone they talk to about kind of what they're going through.
Right.
And then if there's a theme, what's the theme? How are they going to be at the beginning versus at the end? And what are the stakes? Mm-hmm. Now again, in 1980, screenplay structure really hadn't been studied and defined, because there was a guy by the name of Sid Field who was a reader at a studio. I guess at a couple different studios. He'd read screenplays and give like coverage. Here's what I think. It's marketable, yes or no. And he finally wrote a book, I think in the late 70s, maybe 78, 79, somewhere around there. And it was one of the first books to kind of say, here's the outline to screenwriting. That really started to get popular and to sell. And then in the early 80s, you have more kind of books like that.
More structured.
So the structure really hadn't been kind of super defined and maybe hadn't been too pushed in terms of like, oh, everyone has to know it and hit these marks all the time. Right. So that I think that's why here it kind of, I don't want to say it drags, but it kind of just takes its time. It's time. It doesn't really push too hard. And we get the first little moment in that earlier scene where Superman might be, if they play it as like his subconscious wants Lois to know who he is. Right. He's making these little mistakes here and there.
I like this. I do love this old fashioned prison here with the the striped jumpsuits, and they're all working in the laundry here.
And this is all Donner, because I think that they said Donner had filmed all the scenes with Hackman and Brando, because those guys were only available for a certain amount of days. And then when Lester came back in, Hackman was like, "Listen, if you're not gonna respect Donner, I'm not gonna come back." Yeah. Supposedly that's why John Williams didn't return as well.
And yeah, this is a reminder that it's not everything funny or silly didn't come from Lester. I mean, obviously Donner did add some levity too. And, we have with the whole Gus character or Otis character, Gus. Gus is in Superman 3. Okay.
You're already getting ahead. You're starting to think of like,
just thinking about Richard Pryor or the pimp commenting on Superman's suit in the first one.
Donner has a sensibility of humor because he's later on he's going to make the Lethal Weapon movies and he's making the Goonies, so it's there. And I think with Hackman or with Lex Luthor, these characters have an innate sort of funniness to them. Oh, so they're talking about the alpha wave reading box now that's going to lead them towards the North Pole. So they just kind of start this through like, I've already figured out how to find Superman. Like, there's no discovery. We're just going to have to catch up and buy the premise that Lex Luthor already figured it out.
Well, at least, the world's smartest criminal, so...
He did use the dog frequency in the last one, right?
Right.
And he just kind of out of nowhere had the kryptonite last time. He's like, oh, I made it into like a fashionable necklace as well.
I don't know why he knows that he's North, but... I mean, we're skipping past things that really don't matter, I guess.
Right. And at this point, in terms of the screenplay or the pace of the movie, so now we've introduced Zod and his fellow super villains. We've got the Lois Clark relationship, and now we got the ball rolling in terms of Lex Luthor and his plan.
Right. So
now there's those three kind of, if this is a horse race, we're kind of cutting back, or a NASCAR race, we're cutting between these three cars back and forth. And we've got them all in motion. Now this is, again, we've got John Ratzenberg, right?
In a different role.
In a different role. So he's not playing the same guy he was in the first Superman.
No, I don't think he got the promotion. Or maybe, I don't know. I mean, he was, a nuclear...
Because he was monitoring the missiles, right?
Right.
So now he got bumped up. He's like, hey, you did such a good job doing whatever you did in that film.
And we got Cosmonaut Boris, and we got the astronaut who looks like Stephen Baldwin.
that's total.
He's like in the biodome.
Good call. That's absolutely Stephen Baldwin. Could be like a precursor. Who was the guy who starred in that movie Moon?
Sam Rockwell.
Says like a Sam Rockwell kind of similar thing. But now this is all Donner as well, and this is a humorous scene with the woman.
It's a little humorous, yeah. I like the establishment of these characters here.
You were saying this is where there's kind of a dark tone because they're going to kill these guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. They come down here. They are menacing. In their way. And cold.
And if you ever wanted to know what a chic '80s girl looks like, this is it right here. This is music video.
Yes.
Any magazine from the '80s. This girl. I don't think she's. I never saw her in any other movie besides this. I have to look at the credits and find out what her name is. This is cool, man. It looks good. You know, it's well filmed. She just
they're very nonchalant about flying and
just kind of gently go up. Yeah, okay. And I think she just kicks him in the balls right here, right? She's like, "See you later."
yeah, I mean he's pretty much dead at this point anyway.
And just pow. That's straight up murder. That's not nice right there.
No, it's not.
There wasn't any blood. I guess there's no blood, so you don't
Yeah.
kind of feel like it's that horrible.
I guess that's the good thing about killing astronauts. You don't need the
In
gore or
space.
anything. There's no. You don't have to add to the rating. You don't need an R rating to kill some astronauts. That's funny. We're watching this with subtitles, and they subtitle the Russian.
Yeah, we have the subtitles on because
he's speaking Russian in that part, right? Like, isn't he?
that's always a good one. He just kind of picks him up and kicks him. And then we get right here, the zoink. I think this guy's like evil George Carlin. I know it's Terrence Stamp, but I think Carlin had a similar look at this point, so I know it's a few years away from Bill and Ted, but I feel like George Carlin could have played an evil Zod. This is so... Here he's taken off. Now, here we get, coming up, we're going to see some inconsistency in the cutting. Watch this.
Okay.
What is causing in the background the roof to cave in right now? Right there. Watch, because when you go out, there's nothing there really making the roof crush in.
No, I guess.
But now it would.
With his force.
Now watch, now we're gonna cut. See, now he does it. So, I guess there wasn't enough material to cut through. That's something you noticed on the 43rd viewing of this film.
Right. So we get, again, they go up, they ruthlessly take out some astronauts. It's kind of their establishment as the villains.
Right. So they've graduated from breaking glow sticks to killing human beings.
Hey, maybe when they broke that thing in half, like 50 people died or something, and you don't know. I don't know.
That the
Nobody knows how
Kryptonians in
Krypton
there.
works. Right.
And so here we go. Now they've realized.
Now they
that
realize
they're
they have
strong.
powers. Like, they didn't realize before that they're breathing in space and flying around. Like, oh.
Yeah, and the
something's not right here.
super freezing temperatures aren't, affecting them.
And he figures it out pretty quick. Like, oh, it must be the yellow sun.
Well, the one thing also, why do they make their faces so like kabuki pale? Like, they're just a little bit more pale than the rest of their bodies. Like throughout all the scenes, I don't know why they made them like that. This kind of comes out. I like that he has both flags, but then he throws them. He's like, because again, this is 1980, so Russia and America, basically,
Right.
the world's divided into two.
They had a joint
Ideologies.
mission up there.
Yeah, so see you later on that. Okay, so now the threat. Them coming to the planet, that would have been the end of the first movie. So now we've basically spent 30 minutes establishing that threat.
Right.
And this has always been a cool scene here. This is a Richard Donner moment. I would figure that Lex would have figured out like a voice activated way to shut this off. Like, why?
Well, that's going too far. I mean,
We're thinking too far ahead. Well, we have to have the humorous kind of escape a little bit for Lex, and then leave Ned Beatty behind. Like, how did they do hologram technology in 1980? So I guess this is projector on this guy, and then that's them really there, cutting the film back and forth. And that prison guard kind of looks like...
I wonder how many more times he did that. But...
Before he's like, well, I think they escaped. Some more humor there.
The supervillain escape plan of the hot air balloon.
So this is obviously something that feels very...
It is another kind of 70s, 80s Bondish type thing. This is something you'd see in a Roger Moore movie, like hot air balloon chase.
Yeah. Well, and I guess also, since there aren't computers everywhere and we're not thinking in terms of satellites and GPS and all that,
Sure.
I guess it's believable that, yeah, you can get a hot air balloon in there and no one really noticed, and it's a lot more laid back. But again, we don't really care about the believability of it too much,
No.
right? Just more of the fun, the wackiness of it.
Well,
So
it's a Superman movie. It doesn't have to be believable. It's
yeah.
Just,
So the tone here, it's fun, it's light, and we're just kind of
because we have the real threat. The Luthor is allowed to be a bit more of the roguish element, I guess.
yeah. He comes off more of like a car salesman or something.
Yeah, because
Because-
he's in it for himself. He's not. You get the feeling. I mean, obviously, he was willing to just take out half of California in the last movie, but he seems less villainous in this movie.
Yeah, he's become much more of a little like a comic relief kind of character.
Yeah.
Because those guys are so much more powerful. It's like, well, what can Lex Luthor do?
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's not necessarily. Those guys are more interested in doing, in vengeance, and of course, Luthor just wants land.
"33 minutes 12 seconds. Luthor has escaped, and now we are at Niagara Falls."
Now, the entire Niagara Falls thing is all Lester, right?
I think that some of it was Donner. I want to say this part with the kid, kid falling off. That's Donner, but like them checking into the honeymoon suites,
Yeah.
and then her in the river later. That's Richard Lester. Yeah, this is all Lester and
Yes, with the
with the douchey.
smarmy bellhop guy.
It's like, yeah, whatever. Today, this would be played by like an up and coming comic or something like
This
that.
would- yeah, or this would be like Chris Tucker or something like 10 years ago.
Right. I feel like this should have been in 1980. Should have been, I don't know, Howie Mandel or who's the guy who used to do all like the Roger Rabbit voice.
Oh, hi.
That's do a search on that. Charles something.
Yeah.
Charles something is
Fleischer, is it?
Fleischer, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, that's the comedian. So it's a lot less
Yeah,
market
it should be like
thinking.
Joe Piscopo.
That's exactly right. But even though again this is Lester, it's got it for what it is for his tone. I mean, it's doing a great job. Like it's funny with these flames of love, and Clark's kind of like, "What are we gonna do with the bed?" And
He's taking his assignment seriously.
yeah, and she's just like, "Oh boy, whatever." Because in that Donner cut, it's Perry White.
Mm-hmm.
It's Perry White who says, "Here's your plan. Here's your assignment," and he basically says everything that they're saying here.
Right.
So they kind of reversed it where they got rid of him saying all that, and they're again figuring out a way to make a scene of it so that Lester can get some credit and kind of make it his own.
All right, Charles Fleischer, everybody.
That's right. The voice of Roger Rabbit. If we recast it. Supposedly there's a version of this movie where this guy took Donner and this one, the Lester, and he put his own special effects in it.
Okay.
And it's like this ultimate fan edit where like Zod and the General are kind of having the conversation, and in the background is like the White House burning.
Okay.
And it actually looks pretty real. It looks like it's a believable kind of a thing. So people were pretty passionate about getting that Donner cut out there. Do you remember ever seeing this movie like on Channel 9 or like on ABC? They used to have like Saturday Night Movie.
I do remember seeing like maybe a couple of scenes that were like, what?
Yeah.
Where does this come from? Yeah.
And
It used to happen a lot with older movies. They would have to pad out the time or cut time.
So it's like somehow they get hold of these cool copies of
Right.
extended versions. I remember seeing the extended Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother and I, we watched the original like 20, 30 times. And all of a sudden we're watching on CBS and there's like this super crazy extended scene. And we're like, what is this? Like, we know it's not anywhere else. So that was always frustrating. But yeah, so it's nowadays we can have all of our childhood mysteries answered with these extended versions. This is Christopher Reeve playing it up.
Doesn't have much game here.
Superman's got no game. 36 minutes, 30 seconds. Overall, you could say Superman is kind of whipped.
A little bit.
Because he's just willing to give up his powers so easily. And now let me ask you this question. Does Lois still want him if he's not Superman?
That's a good question. I mean, apparently she does. I mean, she's still into him even after he gets beaten up later. So.
In the diner and all that.
Right. So it's not his powers, it's his confidence.
It's his confidence.
His powers, yeah.
It's who he is. That's something to ponder. If everything that you're good at is what got you the girl, if you give all that up, are you still you, and does the girl still want you?
Is this a comment on marriage as a whole?
Just everything.
The woman molding the man into someone she's no longer interested in.
That's
which
right.
Is a good Onion story, if I remember correctly.
This is absolutely from the Onion, that article. Yeah, she made him everything she wanted, and then see you later. And we just had that scene, 37 minutes, 36 seconds. We just passed up the scene where we cut to Lex and Miss Teschmacher.
Yeah, we get the updates on them in the North Pole.
And they're in the North Pole, but they're kind of not dressed very warmly. But we don't mind that. It's just like, okay. Everyone's just running around the North Pole like...
Everybody ends up in the North Pole.
Yeah.
We would just know.
No clothes. They're like, yeah, we're fine. It's good.
Except when we need to see that it's cold.
So here's the justification for her suspicion finally. 38 minutes, 10 seconds.
He's very uncomfortable without the glasses. And
the glasses are off and she sees him. And now that's actually a really organic, nice way for her to have some suspicion brewing. Because in that Donner version, it just kind of starts off like she already thinks he's that guy.
Right. Well, which was set up a little bit at the end of the first one.
So there's kind of hints of it. And I guess that's kind of, you have to make a judgment call. Do you want to be so A to B to C, or can you kind of skip and let it stretch a little bit, and the audience will kind of just be like, oh, yeah, I can buy that. I remember as a kid watching this scene, I was probably around roughly the age of that kid playing on the...
Yeah, that was something I would do with grabbing with one hand and then the other.
Switching it, so that's a believable thing.
I always like that he has to be jealous of Superman when he's playing Clark.
He always has to pretend. I mean, that's like kind of the most reckless kid ever. And the mom was
really
just like a second ago the kid was standing on it, and the mom was like, okay, whatever. Okay, here we go. Now, of course, in these movies, everyone falls. The falls are like a little bit extended in terms of the... Look, there's a rainbow in the background, dude.
Yeah, there was... This is a really long fall.
And there was a non-CGI rainbow right there. That's pretty awesome.
And people are screaming help. I don't think that there'd be this much time.
And it makes sense because is Superman going to hear this from 100 miles away and get here that fast? He might have saved this kid, but there are... 100 other situations that he missed.
How many kids are falling out of windows right now while he's doing this? And he's just not saving.
You think there are newspaper articles of like, Superman doesn't save this guy? See, now that's the movie I think today that would be made. It would be like, Superman doesn't save 3,000 people, saves one 90-year-old lady. Helps her cross the street.
Yeah, saves Lois Lane again meanwhile, like a hotel blows up and nobody's saved.
Superman's still thinking with his... So we have a funny line there at 40 minutes, 35 seconds. Sorry, kid, one ride per customer, and then he kind of takes off. And then we have Lois making the connection.
Which is, I mean, if Superman wasn't a hero, he probably would have let the kid go, because it makes it really kind of obvious. Like, why is he here in Niagara Falls of all places? saving this one kid.
Well, because they're inconsistent with the powers. Like, doesn't he have also the tractor beam laser?
At some point, I think. I don't think they've shown that yet.
Because Zod has that where later he's going to heat the gun up, and then he's going to tractor beam it. So couldn't he have tractor beamed the kid? But again, here they're like, well, we got to have a reason for her to suspect him.
I love this, though. His golly here is...
He plays
it perfectly. Just looking up like, oh, wow.
That's an understated aspect of this whole dynamic, that he really plays this idiot character who's got to be like, oh, wow, Superman, and I'm jealous of him, and I am him, but you don't know that. And so, again, just all the credit in the world to the way that Reeves is portraying him. This is kind of weird. He's like...
And now they got where they got the jet ski or the snowmobile.
So they had the hot air balloon,
right?
That in super cold weather, I guess hot air balloon wouldn't that like burst or something would go on with the
transformed
physics
into maybe the snowmobile.
And
again, we don't mind. I mean, do we really want to see a scene of them buying a snowmobile off an Eskimo?
Exactly. We'll just
get them there.
Lex does this thing. He gets the posh outfits. Now, in the Donner cut, it's more extended in terms of kind of how they get here, and they show a little bit more how the jet ski actually, when it goes into the water, it inflates. And they kind of show him crawling through the little caverns here a little bit more. And they go further with the joke with her having used the bathroom. In the Donner one, they actually have her flush. And in the background, you hear the toilet flushing.
I remember that.
So, again, that's him. That's his humor.
There's some moments that are... probably better left cut.
It's always easy for them to kind of figure out, well, okay, crystals, pop it in, here's how it works. Now let's point out we're at 43 minutes, and there hasn't really been any major Superman action yet, other than the opening sequence.
Right.
So it is faster.
Well, you just saved the kid in Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. Yeah. I mean, that's, again, when I was a kid, loved that scene. Like, just be like, oh, here's that part where the kid falls and Superman saves him. It's great. Because in the original, we had it open up with Krypton blowing up,
right?
And then we had some mini moments.
Later, we never saw him in actual Superman.
Right, he wasn't as Superman. We had him running through the field or running super fast.
Right.
So we're kind of mirroring kind of these little mini moments.
Well, there's a long sequence in the middle of the film where there is no Superman, so.
And now here's the major replacement, that this originally was all Marlon Brando. Instead we have Patrick Stewart. 44 minutes. This guy feels very Vulcan. And it's cool how Lex Luthor is reacting and kind of making his comments.
This is like the super Krypton computer. Crystals are the flash drives.
That's right. These are the most advanced USB flash chips.
I guess it's just like, oh no, that one there.
Now here's kind of the cheesy cheat, in that when they talk about the dark part of their history and they mention Zod, that she says the only way they could escape is with a nuclear explosion.
At least it's the second one he picks. I mean, could have been the first one he picked. Like, hey, what's
off the bat?
Wow.
Now, an interesting dynamic or an interesting choice would have been, what if he picked some crystal that gave him Superman's powers, and Lex becomes like a Superman, you know? But again, we're talking about the continuation of the first film, and we're really interested in having that confrontation with Zod. In the Donner cut, it's moving way faster in terms of showing them wreak havoc on Earth, and you get the feeling that they're really much more active. They're just about to do that scene in the pond where they land. So that's 45 minutes. They're finally reaching her. But we did have them kill off the astronauts, so we got a hint of... It's all building towards what you rightly mentioned was a fight that probably still holds up till today in terms of between super characters like that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely held up for years as probably the best superhero fight for, again, until, Spider-Man 2 probably was finally when I think something lived up to that.
Good point, yeah. So that was 20 years?
Yeah.
A little over 20 years. Like this shot here, 46 minutes, 9 seconds. You don't see the character talking at all. And now we're getting the voiceover. It almost doesn't sound like Gene Hackman's voice. I think that they just kind of brought in someone to talk kind of gruff and just, that sound like Gene Hackman, here's what I'm going to say. Just to fill in the story points. Because they had to get rid of the Donner stuff and it just didn't match up. There's a few moments like that where it's like, it's a cheat. So here we have our scene at 46 minutes 40 seconds. That's replacing the opening scene with them where she jumped out the window. And she wants to test Superman and his ability to keep his identity.
I do wonder how far he would have gone. I mean, he wasn't willing to let a kid just fall, so...
She still does have that 70s, early 80s style. Look at the pink with like a lime green pleather outfit. Let's go with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she looks like a Now and Later or something.
That's a good call. Google that one. Are those still around?
I don't know.
We are sending Google so many extra pennies of clicks and revenue. It's all practical stunt woman.
Mm-hmm.
Looks good.
His Clark Kent run is great too. It's not superhero-ish at all.
It's super lame, yeah. Lanky white boy.
Right.
So that's probably the
fully
most...
invested in the character.
That, I probably would say that was probably Christopher Reeve having to give all of his acting ability.
Right.
And it's probably the most underappreciated part of all the Superman movies, when he plays Clark Kent.
Yeah, you'd think Superman's probably easier. Probably the most difficult thing is when he has to be both after he loses the powers in this movie.
Yeah. Now, how come he didn't have to take off his glasses to let the beam go through?
Well, those aren't prescription lenses, probably, so... I mean, I wonder if anybody ever checked that. Did anybody ever pick up his glasses and realize that they're not real glasses? Because he can't actually... I mean, they can't be, right?
They can't, because he has perfect vision, right?
Yeah, he's the original hipster. He's wearing glasses that he doesn't need.
Bam. Superman's the original hipster. And I guess he just figured that, okay, the tree branch will be enough and she'll come down. And it's nicely played here that he kind of even bumbles into the water.
Right.
Just like falls over. And she has to save him. So that's good characterization. This is probably one element that I think we're both a little bit fearful might be not appreciated in the remake.
Mm-hmm.
Will they give the attention to Clark as the character?
Yeah, I'm wondering how they're gonna play it. Is he gonna be how different he's gonna be than Superman? Because there hasn't been. I haven't seen any images of adult Clark at all yet. Supposedly there's a new trailer in like a week, so
okay,
we'll see.
Because that's important. I think they're really casting for the look of the guy in the Superman outfit.
Yeah.
But you can't. The reason Superman works so well is because of the Clark character.
Right. Yeah, that we definitely need to see that. I mean, we see some of it in the trailer, but he's got the beard and he's kind of more of a somber type.
Oh, really?
So
okay, so they're kind of switching it up here. So they're finally arriving at Earth. Now it's time to realize that they have the super amazing powers.
Yeah, this one we get a bit of a shift in how they, in the tone of their scenes. So we saw them being evil, and we heard from the Superman's mom that they were the arch criminals who had no humanity or no remorse.
No matter how many times we tried to rehabilitate them, they were one of the few that we couldn't figure out with our Kryptonian super knowledge.
And now they're just making fishermen think they're on drugs or something.
Right. Well, that's a classic. It seems like a Spielberg 80s comedy thing. You cut away to the
reaction shot from someone.
The bystander of some kind. I almost feel that's maybe like a Frank Capra thing.
Then they shake their head like, nah, it couldn't be.
Yeah, like I must be going crazy. And we had the great walking on water moment that...
Yeah.
It's also in that Peter Sellers movie, Being There. Simple effects that look advanced and freak us out.
We got the super snake. which can puncture your super skin.
So a Lois Lane punch to the face doesn't phase her.
Yeah.
But a mini snake bite does.
Well, maybe she was just surprised.
Alright, so she sets the snake on fire.
So they kill Snake. So
let's see if he picks up a twig or the snake again.
well, he does reach into the fire.
Did
So
you
I
see
think
what
it's
I did?
supposed to be? And again, Terrence Stamp, Zod, no.
We all have them, my dear.
Duh.
Is that yeah? I guess that's it, right? The snake head over there.
I guess.
So again, comedic relief here with the big guy who doesn't have
And his silent noises.
a big guy with a teeny laser beam. All right, and here we have the soon-to-be reveal.
And again, after he's gone through all that he went through to get her out without revealing anything, he's done in by Now he had to have wanted to. Like they say that, right? Does he say something like that?
Yeah,
Like,
the
he
line
wants
is basically like maybe your mind didn't want you to, but your heart did.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because he trips on something. I mean,
Yeah.
Superman doesn't trip.
Now in the Donner version, what they use is a scene because again she's already thinking it is him.
Right.
And it's them in a room, and she like pulls out a gun and like accidentally shoots.
That's like a bit over the. I don't know.
And here we go. I always liked this moment. I thought
Yeah.
it was really cool. 52 minutes, 37 seconds. All visual, no dialogue right there. I like how she looks back and then at
I mean, I guess the difference between the Donner is again, it's not an accident in any way. It's just, or I mean, it is, but it's not an accident that he makes. He doesn't trip over something, or it makes sense.
Now the posture here. Watch this change in posture.
Yeah.
See, look at that right there. With the body language, he's already Superman. He's gone from Clark Kent to Superman.
Does he go up and change the hair now immediately? That'd be.
It would have been cool if the curl would have just formed. Like
That's what they'll do in Man of Steel. They'll just like CGI. He doesn't have the curl in the new one.
that'll be in superhero movie too, because that's an inevitable spoof sequel that'll come out. There it is. Yeah, you didn't want to with your mind, but you wanted to with your heart. So in the Donner version, that scene that was actually the screen test for each of them that they used in that.
Right.
And they were saying that when you see Clark Kent and Christopher Reeve, it's him before the first movie even. So he doesn't have any like mask to him, and his hair's different. And then when you do the Lois screen test, he's kind of changed. His hair's a little bit different. He's a little bit bulkier.
Right.
And you don't notice it 100% because it's kind of cut fast enough. But if you look closely, you'll see that there's some inconsistencies.
He definitely gets bigger over the movies. I mean, he's kind of ripped in the third one.
He went to the extremes in that one. Hey, every sequel has to be bigger in every way, right? So
in every way.
I think you should know it all. So 54 minutes, 37 seconds. From the first film to this one, part of it has been the journey of him allowing love to come into his life. To be able to tell her the truth finally. Because remember in that first movie, after their extended flight with that cheesy kind of voiceover, right?
Maybe you should change too. Like that's what she wants. She wants the uniform, like all right.
They are in the honeymoon suite, so there was the 80s, 1980s, so who knows what they can show. We're just cutting right to panoramic shots there. And here we have, again, the
Dukes of
comedy
Hazzard
moments.
scene.
Dukes of Hazzard, right, that's another one. This is total Dukes
Boss
of
Hog
Hazzard.
here.
That's probably the most obvious. Now today we would have probably a Duke Boys reference, or the General Lee would be in the background or something.
We get this whole run thing, which is rather lame. Like, oh, I guess I'll have fish.
I swear that this exists. Maybe it's just a dream I had, but the bigger guy, Nan, right?
Mm-hmm.
He takes the flashing light.
Yeah.
And I swear I remember watching a version of this where he throws it like far in the distance. Because like someone's trying to run away.
I I don't remember that.
All right, maybe that was just like
Maybe it was in the TV edit. I don't know.
I swear, like as a kid watching this, and like someone's trying to get away from them, so he just like throws it, and like I don't know if it's this Simpsons, like it explodes, like when the leaf falls on the car and it explodes, kind of thing. That's a great line. If you got to learn to kick ass if you want to be a peacemaker. I just like the philosophy of that. All right, so here we're gonna have a new made up power.
We got lots of made up powers now, but this is where it changes. Where previously they just immediately were just like kicking around astronauts and for no reason, and now these guys are actually threatening them with violence. And
so it almost feels.
I guess
like,
if you want to rule, you can't kill everybody, but
yeah, you got to have someone to dominate on, right?
Yeah.
So okay, he's turning it into a hot weapon.
Right. Well, okay.
Then he tractor beams it.
Yeah, the tractor beam.
But it's just funny. He's like primitive noisemaker.
I mean, wouldn't he throw it miles? I mean,
I guess it's like everyone liked when the kid picked up the car.
Yeah.
So let's have the overgrown kid pick up the car here, and then you have the comedy with the guy checking the tire out. You know, just checking the tire. He wants the toy here. The overacting. Look at that. It's like
it's a bit much there.
Yeah,
I always did laugh at this as a kid. This is noise here.
Yeah, it's kind of played like this.
Like this 5-year-old.
And again, if you're touching Superman, you're warm. You don't need to worry about a jacket or anything.
Oh, warmed up from the inside, right?
The heart's pumping faster. That's why, I guess. So we have kind of a callback to that.
And it's just the worst
First
timing.
movie.
I mean, just as these villains arrive, he's taking some time off to himself.
He doesn't have the powers here that he has in Superman Returns, where, like you were saying, he can hear all the screams
going on, right?
Because that would be probably something today we want to know. Like, well, how does he decide who to help?
Be, right.
So, if there's some kind of a hearing ability or whatever, he's tuned into everybody's alpha waves or whatever Lex Luthor device kind of style. Well, at least they call it out. I guess I should be freezing, but I'm not.
But how did you get there in the first place? But,
59 minutes. And now we're moving forward. Now we're getting a lot more scenes with Zod and everyone since they're here on Earth. We haven't seen Lex Luthor in about 10-15 minutes. Right. Because we focused on the love story and now the supervillains. So again, this character named Nan is kind of a overgrown version of this kid right here. He's got those kind of an innocent sensibility in a way. Just a play on contrast there, where such a powerful looking figure.
And this all kind of seems a little bit like padding, perhaps.
A little bit, yeah. It's just comic relief here a little bit.
There's some fun stuff here, and I guess they have to be introduced to the world in some way.
This is something that, like in the first Transformers, you got to be careful that comedy doesn't replace story and drama. Where like there's no conflict, so like let's just have comedy for 10 minutes. Where you know, in that one, there's an entire.
Let's
not mention that anymore. This is fun though. This is kind of like Marion and Raiders, where she's like doing the shot contest, right?
Let's just hold hands.
And she doesn't look how they grip. Aren't you supposed to grip thumbs? But they grip palms. That's how you do it on Krypton.
This is completely exasperated. Throughout this whole movie, really, there's nothing.
Well, Zod again, they have that, like you were saying last time. It's an archetype where the superior mad genius megalomaniac has the imbeciles as his henchmen.
Right.
So he can maybe always feel superior around them or whatever.
He's completely bored.
And it's funny later on, even when he has the White House, like, oh, you ruled it yesterday. It's like, isn't there anyone that can provide some challenge for me? Funny little moment there. There's more comic relief here.
There's quite a bit of it here.
That was a cool effect, by the way. That guy getting thrown out of the...
Oh, yeah.
So let's give credit for that. Yeah, I swear this is the moment in some version of some cut, like someone's running away.
I see he's still got the light.
Now, he's got the light. Now, let's pay attention to see if that light disappears at any point.
Another power here, because now we have the actual beam.
No, we
didn't see the beam before.
Pickup beam.
I guess it's the same as the tractor beam, but we can see it now.
So, tractor, pause, hold you in the air beam. It's like, all right, I'm bored. Terrence Stamp is playing him well. It's just like this, I don't know, ADD psychopath. Like, ADD. Whatever's interesting me at this moment, I'm going to focus on.
This bores me.
He's like the ultimate just, he would behead everyone if...
Superman just showing off his pad.
There we go. It called to me. So that's a nice little character moment for him, trying to explain to her what it all means to him. There is actually a great moment in that Donner version where after they sleep in the super soft silver pillow bed or whatever that is, and Brando is there as Jor-El, and Superman's saying, okay, I want to give my powers up. And she's at the very top, and she's got like the Superman nightshirt on. She's put on like his...
Right, yeah, I remember that.
And Jor-El, after Superman's like, I'm going to make this choice, he gives her a look. Like, he does like this disapproving dad, like, you got my son whipped, I can't do anything. And it's just like this really intense kind of... I wish they would have kept it. Now, this is kind of just... Well, I guess if you're Superman, you would do this, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on. If I could do this when, if I take a girl home and it's like, oh yeah, I'll just go get some exotic flower from this island and I can get food from anywhere. What do you want? Authentic anything.
Flowers from Brazil and sushi from Trader Joe's.
Thai from Bangkok, got it done.
I'll be back.
I know this little joint.
Like when they go back, literally, she's been there like 5 minutes, just sitting there. That was fast. It's just funny that this really, essentially it's a love story right now. There's not a ton, other than when we cut to Zod and everyone making trouble. Lex Luthor is more comedy. He's not
we
really...
We don't even see during it, I don't think. He doesn't even... We don't even see him until they get to the White House again, right?
Right. And once he gets in the White House mode, then he's just, on. It's Lex Luthor the whole time. That was a setup there, 1 hour, 3 minutes, 50 seconds, where she dropped the green crystal.
Yeah.
That justifies later him getting his powers back.
It doesn't really, but...
it totally, it's like the cutaway,
no, the crystals
doesn't.
Crystals are just, they are whatever,
That's right.
Whatever you need.
But in the Donner cut, it's... I guess the supercomputer from Krypton, when Jor-El's there is some kind of essence of him still there. Yeah. And he kind of touches his son to give him back the powers. They kind of justify it a little bit more. Even though it kind of doesn't make any sense, but at least they try to do something a little more.
Because, as you'll see, they say, there's no reversing this whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, actually, there is
we were just trying to scare you, Let's give it for Terrence Stamp playing Zod really well here. Just... playing him just like this focused...
There's a lot of economy of movement and expression. He's stone-faced. Doesn't even say much, really.
Now notice, we have not seen how the glowing, flashing bulb disappeared from the movie. So I think I think
you're okay.
There's even a more rare cut. Not the Donner cut.
The mega cut.
The mega secret cut. Where I'm guaranteed... I gotta look this up on YouTube now. Where he throws it at somebody. And it's borderline like nuclear explosion in the distance. I don't know.
We'll have to see it. I like this, the blowing the flamethrower.
Cool flame effect right here.
That physics doesn't make sense, but hey, again.
It's 80s animation.
It gets a little smile. Something that actually amuses Zod for a second, too.
That's played well.
Slight reaction.
1 hour, 5 minutes, 45 seconds. So now, in this fan edit, the background right now would be in Washington, D.C. Okay. Someone did that. So it's like the White House burning up in the background or whatever. But I like the small town. news beat. You know.
Yeah, it's the ramping up. I mean, you get the small town, then you get the White House, then you get
now we're getting
Metropolis
bigger
or
with the
whatever,
White
right.
House here. I think this is what made this feel so epic is that now the White House is involved.
Yeah, we got the president. You know,
It's like the threat. I mean, it's a huge threat. Where's Superman? Where is he?
and I guess this is all happening in how long? I mean, a few hours.
What's the time frame? I mean, this is all one day, right?
Yeah, this is all the same day since they landed. So I guess they've already become accustomed to Superman just taking care of everything. It's just been a couple hours. I'm like, where's Superman? What the hell?
We can't do anything. And by the way, worst aiming by a gunner pilot in this helicopter ever. Now, I think the dialogue is like, fire again.
Well, are they supposed to actually be? I mean, I think that first one was supposed to be a hit, maybe. I don't know, and it just doesn't do anything.
It just doesn't even affect them.
Which is, that's good stunt acting though.
I like Zod's line right here.
And they're already cocky about their powers. Like, look, they need machines to fly. Like they just started flying like 2 days ago, and already,
Blow them a kiss. Like they're still not wondering about like what's going on with us. We're just okay with it. Like,
yeah,
hey, And they act like they've had these powers for their whole lives, right? Because what powers did they have on Krypton? They were just sneaky?
They had the red crystal breaking powers.
That's practical explosion going on right there. Is that a miniature, or did they actually blow a barn up?
I think it is, because there's a moment where the copter is pretty obviously miniature.
Okay. But still, real fire.
Yeah.
We got the smoke. I win! So he's just this really weird...
I always win. Again, how have you always won? You were just captured. Like,
you were in the Phantom Zone!
He was imprisoned for years, and now he's beat up on a small town. He always wins.
Yeah,
they're pretty cocky. I mean,
well, he's kind of he's delusional also. Like,
right?
It's like no matter what, there's no criticism that can phase him. He's always gonna twist it to say that he's like the master. That he. Right. I wanted to be captured in the Phantom Zone or whatever. And the way Stamp is playing him is like his eyes are just like so in the distance. Mm-hmm. Like there's just this weird disconnect within him. We have a romantic moment going on here.
I like that he has everything. He has plates, and I guess he could have just went out and got all that right now.
He has the plate, exactly. Now, Superman doesn't need to eat, right? He just needs the sun?
I think he still needs to eat. I mean, in the movies at least he does. In the
he
first
can
one, she asks him,
but he doesn't need to
eat.
If he
eats.
Because does he have anything on his plate? Or is she the only one eating?
Well, they don't really have much on their plate either. It's a very fancy meal here.
For the first time in my life, everything is clear. So now this would be like a window character moment. You take a moment to give us what's going on inside of the character. Mm-hmm. These are the moments that we need so that later when he's fighting or when he's upset, when he's hurt, we know what it means to him. Instead of just nonstop straight action, which happens a lot in movies nowadays. Action only means something if it means something to the character.
Right. He's got the gaze. He's good at this. He knows what he's doing.
I mean, Christopher Reeve just totally... Now he's got game. Now Superman's got game. So as Clark Kent, he's got no game.
Right.
And as Superman, it's just like, hey...
Yeah, he's finally going to lose his virginity now. See, because he has to be a virgin.
You know what? That's right. Superman is a virgin until part 2. Lois Lane deflowered
that
him.
we know of.
Maybe Uncle Superman took him to when he was just kind of like, yeah, okay, you gotta experience this. That's what uncles are for, Love this dialogue. You will enjoy my generous protection. You will be allowed to live.
Yeah, and they do take out a military. So again, they are now a threat again.
Now, interesting. So he says, you're a general. Who is your superior? Mm. So if it's General Zod, who is commander or president, who did he answer to?
I think he was just a former general, probably, or maybe he declared himself a general.
Okay.
One of those deals.
That he's just delusional, crazy guy. Like, yeah, I'll be a general.
I'm not 100%.
Why wouldn't he just call himself admiral or something, So 1 hour, 10 minutes, 47 seconds. We have very important. This is hardcore character moment. Mm-hmm. And this really kind of sets the standard for future sequels. Spider-Man 2 obviously went kind of this way.
But this is kind of this has always been kind of a cheat as well. Like, if you want to live with them, you have to be immortal. Or is this actually getting around the whole what would Superman have sex? Like, would it just destroy the woman because he has to go through because he goes through this before they sleep together, so he's doing this thing.
So he becomes
is that the between the lines thing when she's saying in order to be with immortal you have to live as immortal?
Interesting. Okay.
Because otherwise it's kind of a cheat. Like, why do you have to give up your powers just to be with anyone?
Symbolic kind
of. So I think this is all about boning. This whole
thing.
Yes.
Superman just really wants it badly. He's so selfish. Mm-hmm. He gives up saving the world. Look at that. So now we do get the same thing here in the Donner cut, but it's Jor-El coming out of the supercomputer,
right,
and touching him. But the important difference is that he's in that one he's given the power to him back.
And I do like that it's with his mother. I mean, it seems more fitting that you're talking about the woman you love with the mother instead of with Marlon Brando as Jor-El.
That's true, but again, like you were saying in the first film, where it was like a battle of the two fathers.
Right.
The father is the one that's much more about your purpose in life and kind of what you're meant to be and what you're meant to do.
But I feel like this requires maybe the softer touch. Then we get this, which always freaked me out as a kid. This animation sequence or whatever. It's
which absolutely isn't in the Donner version because they like take his skin away and it's his muscles and like this. It is kind of dark or just weird for what it is.
But remember this for later because it's not very consistent here.
Right, because when you go later on,
right,
they don't show similar things. Like, this is like a music video now. Like,
he's this is like a Michael Jackson
Sledgehammer.
It's like
Peter
black
Gabriel.
and white. black
or white.
This is the old morph from pre-morph technology.
Sledgehammer. No, now that's a nice shot there. We're doing the double. Mm-hmm. That's a good way to visualize that there's been a split that's taken place. And I guess, okay, you're not Superman anymore, so we got to destroy everything.
So screw all your crystals. Also you're gonna have average dude clothes. You have to live as
average dude clothes.
Like, your super style is gone too. You gotta be this dude now.
Just faded away. We have an outfit ready for you. No more glasses.
Now is she totally disappointed at this point? Like, damn.
I would love it if there was a close-up and she was like, listen, because I think, again, a movie made like this today would be like, wait, no, hold up on that getting rid of the Superman thing. I kind of like the flying and because women want to be with that guy who's extraordinary, right? So now he's just...
But he just did all that for her, so, it's good for now.
Yeah, but then when the next dude shows up who can fly...
But yeah, now he can't, now they want food, he has to go drive and get it.
That's right. Where's my flowers from Brazil, buddy? Well, Brazil, the shopping market down the street, no problem. So again, what is his real weakness? Kryptonite or love?
I think I mentioned in the first one too, is his strength and his weakness are his humanity, right?
Right, that he cares.
I love it. Like, now they have the power of
with one shot
of masonry or sculpture.
Look at this. If I just shoot a beam with it like perfectly forms my face in one shot. Now we're flying super fast.
I was wrong. That's more of a sculpture power. The masonry power comes in 4, which is my favorite stupid power.
Okay. We'll have to save for that. Now, he had the super fluffy IKEA bed the whole time.
Yeah.
But you gotta wonder, Superman probably doesn't need a soft surface, right? He doesn't need any... Doesn't matter the texture of the surface. Mm. But they're in their own cocoon, oblivious to everything that's going on.
He doesn't have a washing machine.
That's right. Well, he doesn't sweat. He doesn't need any... That's a plastic cover of a bag of something. Now, this is pretty cool, right? They're going to the White House.
Oh, yeah.
That's
this sequence is actually... pretty well done here.
This was done before Cobra took over the White House, before Olympus has fallen and White House down. Now, this is all a Donner sequence, but it's really cut down. In the Donner version, it's like...
You can tell, because, you see them, they're setting up, like, mortars or something in the White House. Yeah. We got the rocket launches already set up. They were expecting this.
And they hit Non with the rocket, and you see it stop right at his chest.
Yeah.
Now, do they show... Watch, okay, when he picks up the gun there, Zod, they actually show him shoot it in the Donner cut. And when he shoots it, the expression that he has, it's perfect. I mean, the acting there by Stamp is really great.
Okay.
It's like he's just enjoying like killing and just the mayhem of it. And it's cut really... The pacing of it is cut beautifully. So it's a really great sequence. If anyone has that Donner cut or is interested to see it, totally recommend it. It's just really well done. And it's all practical effects again, stuntmen. Right. Really well done.
I always like this scene. Fake president.
And then Zod calls him out on it. Love the dialogue and everything here. Rise
First
before
you have
Zod.
to rise before Zod. Before kneeling before Zod.
Rise before Zod. It's like, what is your fixation? What would Sigmund Freud say about all this? Just, why do you want everyone to rise and kneel? And now, Lex Luthor, by the way, has not been in the movie for like 30 minutes.
No, yeah.
So you can tell he's very much just a...
Yeah, he's not the focus of this. Yeah.
We got to have him because he's connected with the first and it's Gene Hackman.
Right.
But that could be, again, that since it was all conceived by Donner from the first film, there were only a certain amount of scenes he needed.
Right.
And he didn't want to come back for the reshoots.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense that we only have him kind of with what was filmed. And with the Lester version here, we have a lot more love story between Lois and Clark Superman than we did in the first one. Or in the original Donner version. Who is this imbecile? I love his response.
Well, yeah, the president's kind of selling out Superman there. Like, he'll never deal before you. You just wait.
My big brother's going to come and kick your ass. Zod.
I love it.
Zod.
Help me God, Zod, yeah.
So played really well.
She's already regretting, like,
Now that would be the
now
focus of it.
we're
Like,
driving. We really have to drive. I mean,
like, it's all just downhill from here. I mean,
I
you flew to the North Pole. Now, who knows where you got the car from? Like,
Right.
how you got out of the... How did you
this-
leave that place
You
with
just
your
had
regular
this-
clothes?
You just had this exotic meal in this ice palace, and now you're going to the diner.
So we're not going to worry about how you left the North Pole in like fall clothing, even though you need sub-zero winter clothing.
And she's buying.
I mean, and he's kind of doing like a little bit of a... The walk is obviously not as...
It's got a little swagger, though.
It's got some swagger still, because he doesn't have to pretend anymore. I always like these two scenes, like this one and then the kind of at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I do like, again, it shows him being a little human, especially at the end when he comes back. I mean, that's not...
Yeah.
You'd think he'd just forgive and forget, but...
And the way it's played is like perfect. And I remember watching this as a kid. This scene like made me really sad. Like seeing Superman get his ass kicked was just... It was kind of dark and like... Man, this movie just is so... Again, like Empire Strikes Back, kind of just like... It's so dark. But I like that he doesn't think twice. He hasn't had his ass kicked yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this actor here, I guess he was a professional wrestler.
Really?
Yeah, they said in the commentary that this guy, because he has that kind of a presence.
Yeah, I like the setup here, though. Would you care to step outside? You get a nice callback of that later.
Yeah, and then that second scene, the way that Reeves plays it is just so really well done. And even Clark here, Superman here, is thinking like, oh, I trust this guy. I think he gets down on himself too fast, though.
Well, he's never been hurt. He's playing as well. Like, what?
Like, that's good. Yeah, blood is my blood. But then he's already like, maybe Superman should have been here. Like, he's a... Yeah, see? I want the man I fell in love with.
So you want Superman?
So why'd I give up my effing powers for you? I wish
he does. He does quickly. He's like, yeah, this kind of sucks. Seems like he never really learned how to fight either. He kind of just stands there, open.
He never learned any moves of any kind.
Yeah, why didn't he have to? I mean, he was gonna win no matter what.
Yeah, I mean he's messed up here. So as a kid, it's just like, whoa, man, Superman. It's like,
Yeah, this is pretty much the worst morning after every day after ever. This happens, and then is when the TV comes on.
That's right. Just like everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
So you just made the worst decision possible.
Rub it in. So we get a lot of liberty taken in the scene before this and now after this, the in-between scenes, because we don't show how they got here into the car. Mm-hmm. And now we're just going to cut to like him walking by himself on the freezing road.
Now it's tough. It's tough. Like this is the only point when it's actually difficult to reach the North Pole for anyone. Because Luthor got there perfectly fine.
Yeah. But it's like, where did Lois go? And wouldn't they just pull their money and like get him a ride? Like, why is he like, no, I'm going to walk. I'm gonna do it on my own.
I got this one.
This is a scary moment. Back in 1980, there haven't been a lot of movies that kind of depicted something like this. Mm. So the president's saying like, hey guys, we're effed without Superman and I'm going to be, giving power over to this guy. Love this. Come to me, Superman, if you dare. I defy you. Gotta take another shot. Gotta take another shot.
And then Martin Scorsese's had enough here.
That is. You've been on a desert island? I have to go back. So that's a quick decision.
Yeah.
So he's human for basically like half a day. Gets his ass kicked and he's like, okay, I gotta do the right thing. Before, it felt like a lot longer, like when I was younger watching this, that it felt longer that he didn't have the power.
Yeah. I noticed that a lot. I mean, it's something I've noticed when rewatching part 3 as well. It feels like it's longer when he's
yeah.
It's actually quite short.
Now see, we just cut, and so 1 hour 23 minutes 30 seconds.
Yeah, now he's walking all the way to the North Pole with his spring jacket.
His hands in the pocket. Like, wouldn't there have been like, okay, we got to get you back somehow.
Yeah.
Let me call Perry White. Let me do something. We're at a diner. Let's just get in a trucker. Can't we get a trucker there to give you a ride?
I mean, he doesn't even have gloves. I mean, they could have at least stopped to get him some warmer clothes.
He doesn't have a hat on even. Come on.
I mean, yeah.
He's like struggling and frostbitten.
He's eating the snow
to
with
drink.
his bare hands.
He's using it to like put.
I guess you got to show the struggle somewhat, but a little preparation maybe.
So we're just buying it. Now that's a symbol of his aloneness, his alienation, and his feeling like he's just by himself in the world. Right. But we might have missed a scene or two. We could have had a little more continuity there. So now here again, in the Donner cut, we have with Jor-El. It's him and his father.
Right.
The conversation, and then Jor-El sacrifices his remaining energy essence to empower Superman again. Right. But this is a really good emotional moment, even though it's just, it's Lester. It's done really well. It's very vulnerable, very emotional. Played really well by Christopher Reeve. Great acting. Wide shot, and then we have the echo.
And we get magic crystal.
I mean, do we even have a moment like this in Bruce Wayne and Batman recently? Do we have any kind of self-reflection?
Well, that's actually one where he never actually gives. Well, he does give it up. He gives it up. He's given it up for. We kind of missed that whole point. Actually, that was all happened off screen between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, because he was out for, because he was out for 5 years limping around, and then he was good again.
Now again, we have another big leap. So we have kind of 3 big leaps close to each other, where he just picks up the crystal, and the next time we see him, he's going to be Superman.
Yeah. Look, we skip past all the
boring stuff, right?
I guess. I mean, do we really need an explanation? He's Superman again. It does feel like a bit of a cop out though to have that, because I mean, it was how long ago we were told that you can't come back from this.
It's irreversible.
It seems a bit easy to come back.
Like, okay,
maybe I don't know. There should have been maybe a trial or something for him to go through. I don't know what, but
that's why
it seems like there could have been a bit more of a, just a bit more difficult for it to reverse that decision, because then there's not a lot of I don't know what you want to say.
Well, there's no stakes for it. Like there's no ramifications.
Right. It feels exactly. It feels just less like there's less stakes because it was just so easy.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like if you give up your powers, some D-bag in a diner will kick your ass.
Right.
You know, but you can get him back. So it's nice if there's a little more at stake.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that diner cut's nice with it's more of a face-off kind of, you know, come to a realization moment.
Right.
Because that's a big deal. You give up your powers. So what does it mean, and what have you learned from it? Now, finally, we get Lex Luthor coming back into the picture.
I see him just kind of conniving the entire time.
So 1 hour, 27 minutes. And it was great, the opening of this scene, as they were all just sitting around bored.
Yeah.
Like, you were master of all your surveying, and you were the same yesterday.
What's the line from Die Hard? Alexander wept, for he had no more worlds to conquer.
Nicely done. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, well, now what? You cannot bargain with what you don't have. And I love how Hackman's like, magnificent one. Oh, your eminence. Like, he uses as many words as possible to kind of suck up to Zod here. And he's like he's in his own head there, like just even when he talks to himself, Zod. Name he travels under, Superman.
Like, he's never given space here. She's constantly like right near him. He has no power here.
Notice the blocking for the actors here. By the end of the scene, Hackman or Lex Luthor will be in the chair. Like, he'll be sitting in the position of power. So it's kind of a nice little switch of control. But then, of course, Lex Luthor's never in control because these guys will just kill him once they have what they want. Wait. Lex baby. This finally feels like Lex Luthor is like in character 100%.
Oh yeah,
he's just really had a moment to kind of just give it his all.
You don't see any of his henchmen or henchwomen again though.
Yeah, what happened to her?
I guess served her purpose. I guess
like they left. They said, okay, see you later. We don't need you anymore. So that's kind of a very weird. Just it's nice to kind of know what happens to characters.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they could have had her come out of the bathroom at the very end,
mm-hmm.
you know, and Superman gives her a ride along with Lois.
Now this is kind of, you know, the Force of Solitude, which is, Daily Planet's basically his home, so you get these villains coming and screwing up his home, and so I guess this is I don't know, you get this scene a lot where, you know, they find Superman doesn't really have, I guess he has a lair, the Force of Solitude, but this is kind of his place where his secret identity is and everything, and for them to come and destroy that is kind of like the personal moment,
right? We have the
very much like when the Riddler destroys the Batcave in Batman Forever,
right?
No.
or not, but have to come and destroy everything. And Lex Luthor has a funny line where it's just like, why can't these guys just use the door? And it's weird because Zod is not romantic with the female supervillain.
Yeah, he has no use for her.
He's just like all about the control. This guy's just destroying everything. We've leapt in time and story. Lois is back. You know, we don't know how she got back. A little comedy there. Pre-cut desk that works out. Nice and evenly cut.
Yes.
Why not? It's good though. It's so fast. Comedy moment there.
Right through the ceiling.
No.
No snake.
Now we're setting up the punch for later on. Lex Luthor.
It's a great suit though.
Yeah, and it just every scene Hackman just killing it. Just when will these dummies learn how to use a doorknob? come there wasn't any subtitles right there? She said Lex Luthor,
Oh, yeah.
and there were no subtitles. Well, this is the DVD, so now we're more with Blu-ray. You promised me the son of Jor-El. Snappy line right here. You could use a tuck here and there. Dude, she's like rail thin. What are you talking about?
How many times did he get out of being killed?
That's true. Like, doesn't Lex Luthor realize, like, don't make a deal with this guy? Just here we go. We got some music coming up, and we got the... Here's when...
This is the big reveal. And again, the callback that I like.
This is one of my favorite shots right here, through the window when he's standing there.
General care to stay a step outside.
Awesome. So good. Oh, that's great. And then here we have the most extreme kneel before Zod. Like, he's like gone. That's like
we need to be reminded of his
obsession.
of his goal.
High school yearbook for General Zod. What's your dream?
And we get the big set piece of the movie.
Yeah, this is it's similar to the first movie where it's like 20 minutes of just battling. Right. Now in the Donner version there were only like, I don't know, 3 or 4 moments that were filmed in the fight. Mm-hmm. There's actually one where he gets thrown into the Statue of Liberty, into the fire, the flame.
Right.
That's obviously not included here, but that was kind of a nice visual.
But this is what you want to see when you have one of these fights. I mean, it's obviously a little slow compared to some of the more modern ones, but you still have them throwing around giant whatever and knocking over buildings and
right.
And it took a long time for anyone else to do it like that.
Yeah, the scale here is just enormous. Mm-hmm. Again, this is pre-CGI, so just all the effort and work that goes into this. And George Carlin's going to get mad here and throw...
And you get the moment, he's actually worried about the people below instead of anyone else.
That's a great shot. That's important. And we cut down, all the cars there.
And you get the crowd of everyone watching.
Just the guy with the trombone, just like talking in the trombone, I guess. This still has to be in the top 5 fights of all superhero fights of all time.
It is. I mean, it's dated in some ways, but still,
just for what's going on, and it's a citywide fight.
Right. It's still what you want.
Absolutely. So good. I mean, this is one of those movies where every time it was on TV, just like, okay, I gotta watch it till it gets to this part. But the journey of Clark Kent Superman has been interesting. Him wanting to have the love on Earth. With this version, it's kind of chopped up a little bit, but you get the gist of it.
And you feel the punches just knocking people around.
And that's always a funny moment. When Lois pushes that lady. The big one's just as strong as Superman. Well, no, kick to the face.
The team up here.
Marlboro, their huge product placement in this movie. Now, wouldn't her arm be just as strong as this metal post? Do you really need to get another object?
Well,
ducks out of the way.
Yeah, that's a good moment there. And you get instead of the heroes making the quips, you have the people from on the streets below as the Greek chorus, I guess.
Yeah, good point.
Which it's good here, but then it gets a little over towards the end. But
it starts to get way too comedic.
Yes.
And just too cheesy. Yeah, right now the tone and the pacing is really fine, but just towards the end they just start piling it on, like the guy in the phone booth and all that. Now look, the stroller
just can't move,
and the colors in the stroller are Superman's colors.
Of course.
And he's still got the cocky smile, like
yeah, nods for the thank you.
I'm fighting 3 supervillains. I got time to smile.
I love that. I always love that. This Superman.
I've discovered his weakness. He cares. Like pets. I suppose so. That's a great line.
Mm.
Sentimental idiot. Kind of feels like he should use the beam to kind of weld the thing there, but
Yeah, I don't know about he's caged him. You can see him clearly moving under. Like it's not really caging him. But yeah, this is awesome here. Is when they start focusing on the people. And
yeah, a great strategy and just totally makes it feel like okay.
And
Now
again, this contributes to the epic quality of the fight. I mean, just cars exploding everywhere.
Yeah,
mass chaos.
I mean, this is all, and it's all real. And
Right.
there's absolutely zero. It's all practical. They had to close off the streets and start, releasing. Now this always.
And I guess you got to warm it up. I don't know.
So this we can alter Mount Rushmore in 3 seconds, but
it takes a couple moments to heat up.
this is always like when. The door's closing and the hero just gets under there in time.
Right,
but every time
right.
you look at the door, it's like too close to the ground. I mean, that's like a good 20 seconds that he's been on. That's always a good, just beam it right back. Good effect there.
Yeah, with the background.
Mm-hmm. That looks cool. Well, that's, American made.
He cools it down.
He just freezes
Like the hot and
everything.
cold. He goes over the. He's like,
I'm going to make sure.
I'm gonna freeze this.
No, the guy's
No,
like,
how
how am I going to start this thing up?
This never quite made. I mean, everybody was watching and everything, but at the point when the cars start exploding, don't you think everybody starts panicking and running? Like everybody's kind of just
They're just kind of hanging around.
like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Maybe like you feel, well, Superman's around, so if something happens, he'll just save me from it. This was a cool moment when he fights Non under the ground.
When we get the Star Trek effect here, everybody act like things are shaking here and we're good.
Well, you know what sells it here? The mannequins in the window.
Right.
Because they're really shaking.
Some of the people in that scene are just terribly acting this out.
Just a little bit
if you
too
go
much.
back there, there's some guys who just look like more like they're just a little drunk.
Yeah, the intention here is just really great, and this is one of my favorite effects of all time. Just when he flies out and through the building, like how'd they do this, dude? That is amazing. That is so cool. Like that was the ultimate super punch ever, and they tell the story of the fight without seeing the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like just from the shaking, we know.
So this one, like Superman, help us! Like, what do you think he's doing here? Come on.
And then he actually is like, he's hurt his hand. He punched him so hard.
I always like this.
This was one of my
manhole frisbee.
Like Superman, love that. Boom, and then right behind him,
Kentucky Fried Chicken. Product placement there.
That's right. Marlboro and Kentucky Fried Chicken, big sponsors of this film.
Oh, there's some awesome, again, not to spoil anything, but there's the worst product placement ever in the part 3.
Part 3. And here we have...
It's the most inorganic placement ever. But yeah, I always like this.
Oh,
and then again, everybody gathers around and starts laughing. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's having a great time.
They're like getting cocky.
Everybody's having a great. The cows would just start like.
The girl laughing.
Everybody loves it.
That is an amazing, just throwing him into the Coca-Cola sign. That's the third product placement,
Right.
I guess. That's so awesome. But it's like, none of this is going to hurt them. Like, what's
Right.
the whole point of all the fighting, It's been an amazing fight. This has been just really inventive and impressive. It's all practical. There's absolutely no computer help here. And you feel it there. You feel it when he says that. 1 hour, 41 minutes. So it's coming back.
He's in the no-win situation here.
Yeah. And he can't stop it. It's really cool how all the people decide to take up some arms and they're like, hey, we're going to give it a shot.
Yeah. It was a bit of a...
Superman's dead.
There's an homage to that in the first Spider-Man movie.
Oh, the Raimi one?
Yeah, when they all start throwing stuff at the Green Goblin there.
Oh, right, yeah. And in the...
But I do like... This is one of the greatest lines in one of these movies is coming up here. This 2 lines right here.
Okay.
Superman's dead. They killed Superman. Let's get him. Like, that just doesn't seem...
1 hour, 42 minutes, 8 seconds.
Like,
if you want those lines.
It just doesn't seem like the
There's
line
a sailor with a cone. Like, they pick up a rubber cone.
They start figuring... I mean, it's a nice idea, but the line immediately following, they killed Superman, should not be, let's get him.
Should be like, let's get the hell out of here.
Right.
Now, okay.
Now, yeah, this is when it gets a little silly.
This
partly because of Terrence Stamp's way of blowing is just is really...
Yeah, once the ice cream goes into his face, that's kind of just like,
chicken.
okay.
Yeah, the guy on the phone, that's where it's too much. This guy stays on the phone. Like...
Forgot your change. Yeah, like this is... Talk about lung capacity. This is like a 2-minute just wind blow hurricane.
Right.
This feels very like, I don't know, Mad Man, Mad World or something, like just way over the top.
Mm-hmm. But then again, and Terrence Stamp's blowing just kind of always annoying. It's for like the powerful General Zod. It's very prissy. Like
prissy wimpy. I'm almost expecting like a magazine stand or a phone booth, and like underneath someone's just like in their boxer shorts.
Yeah, like this guy. This is where it's
this is
totally staying on the phone and laughing. Like really.
Yeah, like what are you doing? This is
the moment. When, I mean, especially considering what happens in this next moment is when Superman emerges and realizes that he can't keep this thing. He can't keep the fight down here because there's too much. Come on, the guy in an umbrella.
With an umbrella,
it's not even raining.
That's actually a singing.
And then the cars flying around is cool and everything. But
this is one of the coolest parts. Just like it's like, okay, we can do this car effect. Let's do like 10 times. Let's just have all these cars flying.
And the roller skates. I mean, this definitely feels like it should come out of a parody more because
again, like with that vest. What's with that vest? That's pretty awesome.
When he emerges and he sees like this happening, there should be this should feel entirely disastrous, like perilous. It shouldn't be. It should feel like a real threat instead of guys on roller skates.
Right. Because I remember as a kid watching this moment when he gets up and he goes away,
and
like
he just flies off, like
feeling so like bad about it. Just like I can't believe that Superman's not going to fight them, and you just feel that letdown.
Mm-hmm.
But the car's flying. That's just great. Really cool effect. And just the...
I mean, now we get the turn. We get the music comes up and he realizes he has to take the fight away.
Mm-hmm. He is a coward after all. And I guess it was cold.
There's the roller skater there. It was just,
that red sparkle vest. Like, what's the deal with that?
It really draws the eyes.
So that hopefully will not be in the reboot. Yeah, don't leave us.
People are so quick to turn.
They're laughing when
like he chickened out, Superman didn't even do nothing.
And the kids are like, let's go.
People seem to always be fickle in these.
Yeah.
Even now, you'll see the movies where something happens and everybody just immediately turns on Spider-Man or Iron Man, whoever's like, oh, he's no hero.
I'll only love you when you're winning, right? That's a great line. That stuff closes out of town. Why do you say this?
He's getting threatened with death again.
And I love the great response. Extinguish the greatest criminal mind of our age. Superman's address. It's like, how many times does he get...
He's immediately just...
The son of our jailer. Yeah, here, her makeup, look at her face. It just looks so overly powdered.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost a moment here that's missing in that we get a close-up of Lois on Non, but it seems like we should get Lex Luthor on...
Don't we?
No, they don't do it. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe that was just a Richard Lester thing.
Right, I guess.
And that's just like a stand-in? Because they never really show his face.
Yeah.
Because you feel like he'd say something because he's on a female, you know, like he would do some kind of joke. That'd be like a moment for comedy. Because watch, now this is where the dialogue gets really bad for Lex Luthor.
Yeah, because they let him off, and you just see him like shake his hand fist in the background.
Yeah.
Like
you never see a close up of Gene Hackman because he wasn't around to film this.
Right. Well, later in this part you do, but
so like I'm gonna drop you off way up there. Look, they're not showing his face.
See, obviously, it's not him. Like completely not him.
You ever heard a parachute? That's so, and the voice is so not. She's like, you ever hear a parachute? No style at all. That's a great
good.
shot there. With the Superman's legs and them small in the.
That was when we get.
This
is second best or second funniest power that he has in all 4 movies. The
cellophane,
the super cellophane.
Seal. Family Guy actually made fun of that. I do remember. It's like, what was that supposed to do? Distract. And here's the other fake power, just like
the white. I mean, I don't even know what this is doing here. It's not. I guess this is the teleport thing. They're
teleport
all
beam, but. And he's like, I'm going to shoot it back at you.
There you go.
And then, oh, okay. That's pretty cool that Lois kicks her over, but they're going to fly up. Now, is that established that, is that like...
exasperation. Like...
So he's totally not, Zod is not like this great leader. He's just like...
Wait, we get the teleportation now.
Oh, yeah,
Never ever seen in any... I don't know. We just...
Superman's like,
and the tripling here. Now there's 3 Superman.
Like, I can do this too.
And now we're just doing whatever we want here.
It's just like, we need to think of something.
Superman can just do whatever. I do like the
he's like, hey, that really... And then, but this one is like, turns into rocks. As a kid, I love this part that he's actually standing next to Zod. That was always a nice little fake out. So no matter how kind of logical it is, it just works for the moment. Then they got him because it's like, well, we'll tear her apart. Okay. When is Zod going to do his 7 words you can't say on TV bit?
He's going to talk about
it. And that's...
Yeah, oh yeah, that's obviously just...
And there was bad... They didn't subtitle it, but there's more voiceover there. Like, comic relief of Lex Luthor with the wig, the bad version of him falling down from the top. So that's absolutely the non-Donner version.
Yeah, it's about the 4th time they've...
Sorry guys, I'm late. And now we finally cut to Lex Luthor there. And you can just tell the energy's different. You came to me with nothing. I gave you Superman. Like, how many times are they going to screw him over?
I love how he looks at him this entire thing. How he looks at Lex Luthor, just with the total...
It's really great how he's just selling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cannot understate the acting by
his shushing here is great, dude.
It's like he's in school and the teacher's coming by, right? Like they're passing a note.
Even though they have super hearing, right? So I don't. But again, we're kind of just rolling with it at this point.
It makes people like you into people like me. I've always liked that line. Just nice and simple.
So I guess he set this all up beforehand.
As he got there, I know that.
But again, we saw. Now this is where kind of again we have some continuity issues if you want to get nitpicky about it. But when we see him lose his powers, he has the whole like going through fire, and his skin's tearing away, right. And he goes into normal dork clothes.
He goes through Michael Jackson video, and
he emerges in the white. Now, why doesn't that happen to these guys as this happens? Like. It's like they don't feel anything.
Yeah. Well, because if they did, then the twist would be ruined.
Of course.
But, if we're talking about the purity. I mean, but it's right outside. What more do you want? And look at him. He's acting it up.
He's totally faking it. Like, oh, this is terrible. This is the worst.
And also, earlier, it was like Superman was feeling it.
Right.
But they're not feeling it at all. They're just
no,
like,
they're
okay.
just kind of like, wow, it's red,
You know.
I guess. And
So I guess before he planned this, he went to the supercomputer and was like, how do I reverse the chamber?
I guess if you're watching this, do you realize that it didn't do what it said because he's still wearing the cape?
That's correct.
He didn't come out in his...
So Lois would know. But he's selling it with just being weak with the body language.
Right. And it does set up this moment, which is awesome.
And notice that the female supervillain is still wearing the badge she took off of the deputy guy.
Yeah.
That's a nice little... But the red glowing
she's got the astronaut
bulb
badge
is
too,
gone.
Finally.
Now, it's what's cool? He doesn't say kneel before that. He's just acting it out. I've always liked the shot too of when the revelation, when the crushing of the hand.
The crushing and then picking him up. I love the best thing here is the shake of the head that Superman gives. That like, you dumbass.
Let's see. Good shot of everyone's reaction.
Right.
That's important.
Grabs the belt.
Now look at Reeve just... Yeah.
Like, peace out.
So is there just like a bottomless pit, or you just fall into frozen tundra?
I guess it's I don't know, it's bottomless enough.
Maybe the crystal makes some kind of phantom zone or some sort of endless... Yeah, nicely done there. And then we have Lex Luthor to explain it to us just in case we didn't get it. That's always a good little one-liner there. Is it a little bit too quick, the way they kind of just kill these guys?
Yeah, I mean, well, you get the I think once you get the moment with Zod, that's the real...
Because...
And we already had the big fight. I mean,
yeah.
We don't need another big fight. We kind of had to...
But wouldn't it be... Is Superman okay with basically killing 3 people?
I don't know.
Because essentially he's just killed...
We never really got into the Superman kill.
Because Batman doesn't kill.
Right.
But is Superman okay with these villains basically dying? Now this is another cheat. We're in the North Pole, right? Mm-hmm. And we never see Lex Luthor again.
Well, he says something about you give me everything there.
Well, that's
I think he's taking him back.
That's more bad overdub.
Yeah.
It seems like there was more that was supposed to be there.
It seemed, well, yeah, I guess they could have just skipped over it like they do some of these other things. I don't know why they even mentioned it at all.
Now, in the Donner cut, they show Superman destroy the Fortress of Solitude with his laser vision. Like, him and Lois stand there, and he basically destroys it. And there's this kind of nice moment. And then this is an extended moment as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's more to that.
There's more to this. It's more emotional because they've just gone through something, so you want to have it mean something on their emotions and just, what they're going through in terms of their characters. And then in the Donner cut, she starts writing an article about how Superman saves the world, and then he goes around the world and reverses everything.
Right.
To the point of before the missile exploding and releasing them from the Phantom Zone. Mm-hmm. So they're technically still alive. And then that's kind of how it ends. They do the same thing with him flying in outer space and doing the look at the camera. But we miss this scene, and I like this scene a lot. I think it's really powerful. Because it's really showing the effect on her.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of the made-up power scenes, but, his amnesia kiss.
Right. Well, it reminds me a lot of, there's a really cool Star Trek episode with Joan Collins. I think it's called City on the Edge of Forever. Mm-hmm. It was written by Harlan Ellison. And it's like basically Kirk and company go back in time on Earth, and he falls in love with her, Joan Collins, and he wants her to stay alive, but Spock or someone on the Enterprise finds out that if she doesn't die, like, it alters the future in a horrible way.
Right.
So Spock has to kind of hold him and let her die. And then he's basically on the Enterprise, like, he can't do anything. He's, like, in a comatose state. And so Spock does, like, the Vulcan meld and takes the memory away of her. So it's kind of a similar sort of... But I think the emotion in this moment is so powerful, regardless.
Yeah, there's raw emotion here. I don't quite understand why, It's like, oh, we have to pretend like this didn't happen. I mean, she can't be with Clark.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, because again, the rule on Krypton is you're either immortal or you're not.
Right. I mean, I guess they can't get it on anymore.
When you have a choice between emotion and logic, go for the
Right.
emotion because it affects us more intensely.
And we're talking anymore. This is recorded on the day that Roger Ebert died.
We definitely have to give a shout out to the memory of Roger Ebert and everything he did for film, and just.
And that was one of his quotes. Like, I wish I could give it exactly, but how does he know a movie is good? It's like you can, your brain can lie to you, but the emotions are always real.
Okay, that's.
So you can always just follow your emotion, and that's going to tell you if the movie's good or not. So you're right, exactly.
When all else fails, just follow your feelings.
And I much prefer a less
rational.
No, I was gonna say less devoted to the source material and more going with the emotion, going with what works for the film instead of being
so faithful and just having to be locked into it has to be this way.
Yeah,
because movies are a different medium from the source material, so. Right. What works on screen is different than what works in a comic book page. Mm-hmm. This moment here, by the way, 1 hour, 59 minutes, just before he kisses her and after. Yeah. Just amazingly well acted. You can't say enough about each of these guys, each of these actors delivering a strong performance. And just how look at, again, Christopher Reeve just switching back into Clark Kent mode. Mm-hmm. He was like suave, Superman, I love you, I got to take these memories away. And now he plays it off as clumsy Clark. Right. Can't say enough about the acting here. Look at that. I mean, he just right back into character. It's almost a shame that he might have gotten typecast as Superman and wasn't able to kind of be in other roles, because
he did have some other good roles. I mean, what was the movie with Morgan Freeman, right? Street Smart.
Okay,
like a junkie.
I've never seen that one. All I remember is, of course, the love story with Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, Somewhere in Time.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
At that Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island in Michigan. Hamburger at 9 a.m.
See, and now he can fly and go get that hamburger.
Like, I'll get you a hamburger.
Some Kobe beef.
You want to go to Japan? That's right. So that's a great resolution for just the love story here.
He's got to give it up, and we see a little of hesitation.
Mm-hmm. What's happening in the world? So good comedic moment there. Yeah, that's an absolutely fine moment. Really like this scene a lot. Now we've got. This is one of the best payoffs.
Superman gets to be a little petty, which is nice.
Well, he's got to teach him his lesson, Yeah. And the way that he plays it off here, Donner on the commentary.
Yeah, I love. I definitely love that. That's a part that I always laughed at as a kid. And I love that line. I've never seen garbage. It's a useful quote to use.
And it's a payoff that you don't expect to get paid off. Like, you think it's just the one scene. Right. And when you see him come into here and you see that guy eating, you're like, yes, this is great. Like, he's going to get some revenge. Yeah. But he doesn't play it like revenge. It's more of like a parent just kind of spanking the kid a little bit.
It's not like he's coming in and using, just burning with heat vision.
Yeah. And Donner on his commentary was saying that he has to play this moment carefully because you don't want Superman to obviously cause pain to the guy.
Right, to be a bully.
Yeah. So him giving the money for the damages and then just kind of playfully just making this guy realize, look at this, and he lifts him up. How did they do that? Look at that. That's nicely done. This order,
very carefully.
Then you get the good line. This order's to go. That might be a little overacting with the head bob right there, but we'll take it.
I'm terribly sorry.
Great comedic line to finish this off.
We get Clark raising the roof here. It's been working out.
Yeah, great line. Hilarious. This is almost more satisfying than beating Zod in a way. The guy's got a pepper in his hand the whole time.
There's a nice iconic shot there, Superman with the American flag.
Yeah. Of course, we have to have the great payoff to the setup with the president.
Where was that roof? I don't know. I mean,
like the whole thing connected. Like not just the flag, but the whole new.
Maybe he rebuilt it. I don't know. Of course, he has to apologize for
I won't let you down again. It's almost like, and you'll never have to, with Batman. And then we just cut right to this. Now, this is the same exact shot as the first movie, right?
Well, they close with this in all the movies, and I like that. There's the kind of...
Oh, really?
The final switch. Yeah.
Because I haven't seen 3 and 4 in forever.
He still gets the victory lap.
Okay.
With the smile at the camera. Yep.
Sure.
It's the exact same.
And notice the credits right away. Like, the other one was at the very end. So Alexander and Illa Salkind, those were the producers, the owners of the material. And they're kind of part of the reason that, Donner had issues, and they decided not to pay Brando.
They were kind of out for a quick buck a lot of times.
Yeah, but again, I guess this was the beginning of the whole notion that you can make a movie and make over $100 million from it.
Right.
I mean, that was something revolutionary in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And so now by 1980, when you're getting E.T., I mean, virtually any kind of Spielberg-Lucas movie that comes out, any big property like this, I mean, people are getting used to the idea of waiting in line and this blockbuster, just summer movie mentality kind of happening.
Right. But then you'll see, instead of going bigger with the next one, it just goes much smaller.
Yeah.
It's a very entirely different dynamic than what we get now.
I think on that commentary with Tom Mankiewicz and Donner, they say that in part 3, it's really Richard Pryor as the main character.
Yeah, it is. For half of it. I mean, it's like a Richard Pryor movie for half the movie.
Yeah. And once you get away from the character of Superman, like Donner's dream was that him and Mankiewicz would be continuing to develop more of these stories, and eventually Mankiewicz would direct, Donner would produce, but they would keep like kind of the integrity of the material and continuing to evolve the character.
Do they completely rip on Superman 3?
At the very end, they don't necessarily rip. They're just like, oh yeah, it's unfortunate that they decided to kind of go more for like the dollar and not kind of have us back. I think they eventually wanted to get maybe Mankiewicz back involved with it, but he was just like, the damage has been done with part 3.
Right.
And by 1983, I think that's 83 when that one comes out, it's a sign of the times, that now just kind of churn them out, make the money. Maybe the material isn't so important.
Maybe.
Yeah, and that, and as we'll see in part 3, as we continue this journey, that once it goes away from the character, I mean, Lois Lane isn't even really in that movie, right?
No, well, she didn't want to do it, or she either didn't want to do it or was having like her personal issues or whatever at the time.
She was kind of involved in the drugs and all that.
I don't remember which was. I think it might have been just that she didn't really want to do it, but she was kind of contractually obligated.
Okay.
So she's in the beginning and end, just like, hey, I'm gonna go off somewhere else.
Right.
For a while. And then, I want to do the third and fourth ones, and we'll try to point out there are some positives.
Yeah. Well, I think bad movies can even teach you more than a really well done movie. And as we're seeing here, this is essentially one big 3.5 hour movie, or 4.5 hour movie. Pretty much made by the same people throughout, except switching directors a little bit. But essentially, all the intentions, all the storylines are followed through. I'm curious. We laughed a lot during this, and I think we both agreed like this was our favorite out of the first two. It still holds up.
It's the most rewatchable one.
Okay.
I think. I mean, you have to have the first one, but it's more climactic.
Yeah.
It's just more at stake.
Yeah, I think like that first one really does have like the feel of a first act where you're just establishing character.
Right.
And there is that. In terms of kind of gripping action, it's going to be the last half hour. But the character development's also gripping. You can go back and enjoy like him growing up on the farm.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not knocking the first one. It's still
not at all
excellently made. It's just there's a different feel to it. This definitely has more of the fun feel. We got all the establishment out of the way, and we can just enjoy the character.
So then now, I feel like these two films will be the most sourced material for the potential reboot here. Like, if they are going to take any elements, they probably go back to these first two. They're not really going to pay attention to the last
I don't expect them to take much, though, especially because that's kind of what that was kind of the downfall of Returns, was taking too much from those originals, and I think they just want to go in an entirely different direction, which is why you don't have the theme, why you don't have any of the just completely redoing it, which is fine.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, like you were saying, in the last commentary, Superman is this iconic character, kind of justice, the ideal. Maintain that, but don't forget about him as Clark as well.
Right. On
the human level.
That's going to be an important part, is how they handle that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if they go the more, I don't know, not comedic, but if he's more of like the way Christopher Reeve portrayed him, or if he's gonna be more of a, I don't know, like if you see like, for example, like the animated series or something where he's not quite as much of a dork.
Yeah, sure. It seems like there will be probably an update to how he's portrayed, because here it worked for the time, you know.
Yeah. But he has to be different enough. He still has to be different enough where people aren't going to obviously know that he's which.
Yeah, and I think this is a great time capsule for the 80s in terms of just, again, it's one of the first movies to try to authentically and seriously adapt a comic book. It's also a time when blockbusters are starting to become a fixture in just Hollywood in general, and it's kind of teaching us as an audience how to respond to the different time frames throughout the year, the blockbuster season.
But it was more of a, you know, with this and the original Star Wars and everything, it was more about, it wasn't, I don't know if they were necessarily made with being a blockbuster in mind.
Right.
It was more like it had to be a blockbuster in order to make this type of movie. In order to make a movie about Superman, obviously it has to be big.
Right.
So it was more like it came to them. It wasn't, we're setting out to make this spectacle.
Right. So part 3 is probably more
organic,
like that.
Well, no, part 3 isn't spectacle. I mean, that's what I was saying, is that in these sequels, at least in these early days, the sequels kind of just went downhill in terms of spectacle. There's actually less at stake. There's less big moments.
But then I guess their big moment or their marketability would be the Richard Pryor including.
Right. I mean, it went more. It went more to the comedic route with diminished results.
Right. And this is probably more of a 1978-ish movie because it was all made at the same time. It just happened to be released in 80.
Yeah.
But by then, I mean, just by them saying, we'll be back in part 3, it's like, hey, there's going to be another
This had the right mix of, you know, it had the levity, it had the, other than, you know, spangly jacket, rollerblader and guy with the umbrella and everything. But for the most part, it had a good balance between that. It had the good balance of being fun and not too serious.
Yeah.
Which can be just as bad as not taking it seriously enough.
Yeah, it's a fun time at the movies, while at the same time it's emotional and believable. You know, all the effects hold up and everything. So, great time capsule for the...
That's the other thing you'll see in the sequels, that the effects actually get worse somehow. Even though technology improves.
Yeah.
They just, you know, I guess they're just scrimping on whatever they can save.
And they're not hiring those kind of the bigger... I mean, when they did these first 2 films, they were going to the guys who were the best in the biz. We mentioned last commentary, like the guys who were responsible for 2001 and just all those movies of that period of like, how can we make this as real, as palpable as possible? So probably by the later ones, like, it's going to make money. We're probably, you know, Christopher Reeve's getting a little bit older. He's got to hang it up as Superman, so let's just get as many as we can out of this thing. And I guess as the Cold War's kind of ending, it's like, well... we don't need a superhero anymore at the moment.
The Cold War was the focus of part 4.
Part 4. We'll get to that. We don't want to ruin all our firepower for that one.
Right.
But I think just in closing, yeah, you know, I've always liked this one the most, obviously because of Zod and those guys, and it just feels like it's the culmination of the first one as it was meant to be.
Right.
And you know, as we've seen, these first 2 films like to take their time with the character development. The love story.
Yes.
Really great that it allows him to kind of give up his powers for love, something that'll be used in the future in superhero movies. Kind of the hero who has doubt or wants to sacrifice things.
Wants to be selfish for a little while.
Yeah. So those are some great elements. And, you know, I like you mentioned, I really hope they tackle that thing of that he cares about people. And that's a weakness. You know, hopefully that'll come through. So, you know, every film has its flaws if you look for them, but...
Right.
This is just...
Yeah, I mean, we've had some, or I've at least had some nitpick moments here, but, you know, it's all in fun. I mean, again, you've seen the movie probably dozens and dozens of times. You pick up on things, and it's certainly no knock. Yeah,
so looking forward to see how the new Zod will be portrayed. I'm sure he's not going to say Neil before Zod.
No, but...
as many times as...
It should be interesting. I mean, Michael Shannon is certainly good at playing these people who are... off in a way,
and
so
that's who I wanted to mention. The guard who gets the projection of the hologram on his chest in this one, kind of looks like Michael Shannon.
Yeah,
I was going to say that earlier, but I couldn't think of his name. So maybe there's the synchronicity in the universe. It's all coming together. So, all right. So with that, we will continue the journey. Through parts 3 and 4. Hopefully. We'll try not to make too much of a roast of them.
Now we'll try to point out the positive moments when they are, but.
And then, of course, the story cycle, because I think, again, now we're at a point with part 2 where we wanted more Superman. We got it.
Right.
And we might start to, because I think Supergirl's going to come out soon, and now
Supergirl, I think, came out after 3.
Is it after 3?
Or
but
around
like
that same time,
the Supermania might be kind of catching on.
Right.
So we might be hitting an exhaustion point soon, and if you don't focus on character and where else he can go, you're just going to focus on set pieces and powers, and that's going to get tiring because they're not meaning anything. And by part 4, we'll be at parity and just like irrelevancy. Like,
well, it's
what
interesting
do you
that
do now?
the huge success of these 2 movies didn't result in more superhero movies at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still just an outlier, and it kind of, the fad ended before it ever began, because after the 4th one, it was another, well, actually, I guess it was only a couple years until Batman came out, but still.
Yeah. But at the same time, you'd think that, well, there's all these other big characters.
Right.
And they've shown enough that you can make these effects pretty decent. You're obviously not going to get the flawless, I don't know, super speeds or laser beams and all that, but they can look good enough. I mean, even 30 years later, this holds up pretty well.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys wouldn't even need the kind of effects you need for Superman. I mean, you could have made a Batman movie at this time.
Could you have made an X-Men movie?
Possibly, maybe not X-Men, but you could have done Batman, I think. You could have done Spider-Man.
Yeah. You wouldn't get the morphing of anybody, but you could just do, hey, they morphed him in regular clothes to Superman clothes, so you could buy it.
Yeah. And so, again, it's surprising that they didn't do that until... And really even... And then the Tim Burton Batmans didn't really start a fad trend either. It wasn't until really you got the first Spider-Man and X-Men.
And that's probably ignited by the effects of The Matrix. Like, once The Matrix is like, hey, you can do this, then it's okay. X-Men is like in the next year or two, you know? It's time to make it happen. I guess it all goes back to Terminator 2, probably, where Liquid Metal starts to kind of put ideas. It's a great point that you would think that the first movie made over $200 million on a $50 million budget. So
maybe we just expect that now, because anytime something is a success, you usually get like 10 copies of it.
Right.
And that wasn't quite... Because, I mean, it's not like they came out with 10... Well, they did... There was some movies trying to catch on the coattails of Star Wars, but...
Yeah.
It still wasn't... not as much as you'd expect, I guess. Now, if something came out like Star Wars, you'd get everybody trying to make a Star Wars movie.
Sure. I guess maybe the budgets and the technology were prohibited. But now, you
make a Transformers movie now. It's like, what other toys and board games can we make in a movie?
Yeah.
So let's make G.I. Joe. Let's make Battleship. Let's make Monopoly or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, if you have a powerful enough Apple computer, you can make all the effects and everything believable at your apartment. It's crazy what we all have the power to do. The important thing, though, is always goes back to story and character.
Yep.
And the relationship with the father and the mother, and making it mean something, which that's what this is all about. So maybe someday someone will merge the two versions, Lester and Donner. There is that, again, fan edit film that kind of tries it, but there's both ideas. If we can just kind of let go of the egos. This was still at a time when I think so much money's being made and everyone's like, I want to take the credit, it's my movie, it's not your movie. And unfortunately there wasn't the fan influence of power that hopefully is kind of building now. And
well, they probably didn't even know what they were getting into.
Yeah.
With the undertaking.
Until part 3.
Yep.
This has been Superman 2.
It's been fun, and I'll bring a drink for next time.
What a really great emotional superhero film. While it has some problems and doesn't hold up 100% 30 years later, especially when comparing it to the last 10 years of the CGI comic book movie renaissance, it definitely ushered in the idea that comic books could be feature-length films, be faithfully adapted, and have that epic feel. There's a lot of improvements to be made in a possible reboot, and a lot of lessons that should be learned, and wisdom that should carry over. Hopefully the filmmakers of Man of Steel will learn the lessons from the past and create a reinvigorated, exciting Superman for our movie future. Join us for the next movie night as we cover Superman 3, the sequel that was the beginning of the end of Superman on the big screen in the 80s. Until then, your thoughts and feedback are always appreciated in the comments section. Make sure to subscribe to keep up to speed on the latest videos, and until next time, long live good movies.